assist the unit. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
We're recording, sorry.
Good.
Let me start again. I'm Judy Smith and I'm co-chair of, I am unit coordinator for the Fairfax League, and Ann Parham has been doing this as an assistant to the coordinator for many years, and we really thank her for that. And I also want to thank Mary Volder for her guidance and helping me on a very steep learning curve to get going with everything I need to learn, plus learning and trying to organize a kickoff at the same time. So Mary, you've been a treasure. Thank you very much. I want to welcome everyone here. We have our unit chairs and co-chairs. We have our board members and leaders. We have our representative from the US League and from the Virginia League. So we're going to have a very, very active meeting. This is called a kickoff. And when I was doing a little Google research, I wanted to find out, think about when we think of kickoff, we think of kicking the ball, the football or the soccer ball to start to get the game in play. So we're getting our game in play for the fall season. That doesn't mean that we haven't been working on and off this summer with many activities, which we will hear about. But this is primarily to get us going. And I also wanted to see, I did a little research on what is a kickoff meeting. And this is what I found on Google, quote, to get everyone on the same page and off to a good start. I think that's a wonderful purpose for us, to get everyone on the same page and off to a good start. So the purpose is to give us information so that we are all on the same page and we all know what to do, to get us excited and motivated about our coming year. We have a lot to be proud of. We have a lot going on. And it's also for us to get to know our unit chairs, the people who are the front line and the face of our units. And I added a section in the middle of our agenda so that we can have a chance to get to know our unit chairs. They are the people who are making it happen. So let's go over the agenda. Amabette, would you like to put that on, please? Bravo. This is my trusty league administrative person from Ethiopia, and it comes across. Okay. We are going to go first. We're going to hear from the US League, Kelly. Then we're going to hear a little bit from Ernie in the Virginia League. We are, of course, going to hear from our treasured co-presidents, Pat and Catherine. Then Ann and I will do a little bit of sharing about the nuts and bolts of the unit operation and what needs to be done with that. We'll be talking about program, and the program and advocacy folks are going to combine together this year. So this is very interesting. And I've heard they have a kind of different presentation, so stay tuned. We don't know what's coming. We'll hopefully have a little bit of a break. When we have this section called Spotlight on our units, that is when I want our unit chairs to tell a little bit about themselves and a little bit about their units. So I've given them some questions to jog their minds and get them thinking about that. We're going to hear from Wendy about the nominating committee. We're going to hear about public relations, membership, and the importance of keeping those member rolls up to date, voter service, and voter registration. And Amy will be pinch hitting for Arena, who is abroad. So that's where we are going to go. I've given 10 minutes for each section. Amabette, you can take that off now if you want. We've got that. All right. Are there any questions about the agenda, or can we proceed as I have outlined for us to do today? Okay, good to go. All right. The first person on is Kelly from the US League. And Kelly, I have your name as Kelly Stratman, but I see you're Kelly McFarland. So that's a little bit of a mystery, isn't it? But Kelly is the chief of staff right across the river from us, the US League. And I have told Kelly that I had an extraordinary experience and as a delegate this year from Fairfax in person to the national convention. And I thank all of you and was honored to represent you. It was so well organized and everything came across beautifully. So Kelly, it's all yours if you would like to share a little bit with us about what's going on at the US with the US League. You're right across the river, but sometimes I feel you're way far away. So we want you to bring it down to us. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And thanks, Judy. And I'm certainly glad to hear that you had a good time at convention. It was an extraordinary event, both in person and for those of you that were in the virtual space, we were, as always with League, getting to learn and break new ground, and that we did a hybrid event, which is still, no one quite has the secret formula for that yet. So we're working on it and always welcome feedback on that. So as Judy said, my name is Kelly McFarland Stratman. So I'm one of those two name folks out there, and so no need for confusion. Certainly that wasn't my intent, but I have been at the national office for almost 20 years. Later this fall, it will be 20 years. And really, obviously enjoy my work very much. And one of the best parts of it is to spend time with League leaders from around the country. I am a member of the Fairfax League. I'm based here in Vienna, and I see many faces that I know here, but also some new ones. And I'm very honored to be with you this morning. The first message I want to put out there is just a huge message of gratitude and thanks for you all to, as we already noted, be here just on this Saturday morning. But I know this Saturday morning is like the very, very tip of the iceberg for all that you give and share with the League, your time, your talents, your commitment to the mission, and most importantly, to the voters of Fairfax County. So thank you for all of that that you bring forth. And as Judy noted, we are relatively close. The national office is in the DuPont Circle area. And I sometimes think for those of you in the DMV that it is both a blessing and a curse to be so close to us. I hope it's mostly on the blessing side. But I do, because we do get to spend so much time together. We get to be involved in each other's events. I know I get to participate in things with you all when I'm wearing my local League hat. But I also know that we sometimes call on you all to come and do things with us. We ask you to turn up at rallies. We ask you to help serve on the lobby corps. We ask you when we have national convention in DC, we ask you to come in and again, lend your time and talents in that way. So again, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you. So as far as what is going on, well, no real surprise, election, right? We have this extraordinary election before us. We at the national office have tried to kind of pull together all of the different threads of our election work and all of the work that's happening across the country into what we call our Women-Powered Democracy framework. And that has 4 areas to it. And I suspect this is not new information to all of you, but I'll review them very quickly. The first is what we're calling our defense fund, which is really about our election protection work. As we know, we do not have federal voting rights legislation, in place. And so that means that there's extraordinary work going on at every state across the country and in the district to ensure that voters' rights are protected. They have the access that they need on election day. We have what we call our Democracy Truth Project, right, which is really battling that mis and disinformation that we know is so pervasive right at the moment. A piece of this has to do with our people-powered fair maps work, which I know you all know redistricting very well in Virginia. We all know it. And then the last piece of our work has to do with expanding the franchise. So how are we getting new voters engaged in the process? How are we ensuring that folks have that ability, just like the high school voter registration program and so forth? New citizens, how are we ensuring that everyone has that opportunity and access? What I thought, rather than do a whole lot of look ahead this morning, is I did want to just take 1 minute to do something that I think we don't often do as really busy nonprofit leaders, and that is to take a moment of reflection and celebrate the extraordinary impact that we have. I hope that some of you had a chance perhaps to see, even if you weren't part of National Convention, but we put out an impact report for the past biennium to show the impact of the organization writ large that we have had in our democracy. And I'm going to rattle off just a couple of statistics, and then I'm also happy to put in the chat a link to the full report. But we have had almost, in the past 2 years, almost 36 million voters were impacted by the work of the League of Women Voters. The League as a whole sent more than 240,000 letters to Congress on key legislation. We have partnered, I know we talked about partners earlier, partnered with over 2,700 organizations across the country. And just on the people-powered fair maps, again, I know redistricting is such an important issue in Virginia over this past biennium. 1.4 million people engaged in the work around the people-powered fair maps campaign. So I think those are really extraordinary statistics. And I'll add to that one that I read just this morning when I opened up my newsletter from you all, is that over 2,300 voters registered in those naturalization ceremonies. So, I mean, that is just incredible, the work and the impact that we are having as an organization. So I know, the work continues. We already noted the Women's Inequality Day. I know this is heavy. It feels at times like it is very much an uphill fight that we are in. But as you can see, from these statistics, progress does continue. It's incremental, but it moves forward, and our work is just more important than it has ever been. You have our commitment at LWV-US and supporting the work that's happening both here in Fairfax and across the Commonwealth of Virginia. And just know that we are a resource ready to jump in whenever you need that assistance. So I will leave it there and just see maybe if folks have some questions. I'm happy to take them, but I know you have an extraordinarily full agenda. And so I just wanted to be able to add my greetings and thank you for that.
Good. Thank you very much, Kelly. Does anyone have a particular question? We are trying to keep to our 10-minute segments, but we probably could answer one if we needed, or if you wanted to put something in the chat, Kelly could probably answer it that way as well. So good. Thank you very much, Kelly. And we're glad to have you as a member of the Fairfax League, knowing that you're doing such wonderful things for both leagues. So that's great. We're going to start from the top, and we're going down to Virginia. And I have asked Ernie Bridges, who's also a member of our league and is the second vice president of the Virginia League, to give us a little bit of an update on what is happening in Virginia. I had the wonderful privilege of attending every single one of the women's legislative forums last year during the session, and they were just so enlightening, and I'm very, very impressed with what Virginia is doing, not only for advocacy as a league, but in coalescing with other groups to work for legislation. So I know Ernie was here. Do I see Ernie? Are you here, Ernie?
I'm here.
Okay, there she is, down at the bottom of my screen. Great, good, thank you. So you have a little time, Ernie, maybe about 10 minutes as well. And we would love to hear all the things that you are doing or will be doing as the year commences in September.
I am happy to be here this morning. Thank you for having me. I'm here standing in for our president, Deb Wake, who unfortunately couldn't be here. And I have some things to share. As we approach fall, LWV Virginia Board is focusing on our fall workshop, but it has been canceled because of voting activities, COVID, and etc. There will be a special session September 7th. We think that the governor is looking for tax cuts and restricting abortion. We're working on gathering input for legislative priorities. We had a conversation, Deb and I, and we'd love for everyone to please join our issue groups. They are exciting, and there's so many, and we'd love for you all to join. And just go to our websites. They're affordable housing and childcare, domestic violence, education. Please join our issue groups. Pre-session will be virtual December 7th. Hear from our partners, our legislative priorities. League Day, January 25th, in person. We'll be talking to delegates and more information to come. Many of our studies are being briefed now. We think the Fairfax program director is already in touch with Carolyn Kaywood. Next DEI event is September 24th at 10 a.m. It's Equity, a Conversation Starter. General Assembly budget process, October 12th at 7 p.m. Senator Janet Howell and Delegate Vivian Watts will lead. Right to Vote events, August 27th in Harrisonburg. That's already done. September 10th and 11th in Northern Virginia. September 18th in Richmond, Virginia. We've held trainings on fundraising and other DEI events and trainings as part of council and can be found on our YouTube channel. And lastly, the nominating committee is charged with the responsibility of identifying future league leaders. The committee is hard at work. Committee members, Mary Crutchfield is the chair. Chris DeRosa is on the committee, Elizabeth Obershine, Adrienne Costas, and myself. We're working on that nominating committee, and we would love it if you have names who would make a great board member, those dedicated to our mission, empowering voters, defending democracy. Please forward any names to us. Share your league knowledge with other league members, continue to build leadership skills. Anyone interested in, of course, expanding the commitment to the league will have more information to follow from our nominating committee. Change is inevitable. The league adapts and sometimes drive the change to make Virginia more representative for us all. Thank you for having me this morning. All for embracing change by using your voice to make work towards providing a bigger table with a seat at the table for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie. Can we find most of these things that you're talking about on the league website?
Yes.
The equity things and particularly the issue groups
Yes.
that people might want to join?
Yes, and please, it's an amazing group of women that are working these issue groups, and they're the times and the dates for all of these issue groups on our website. Can
you elaborate just a tiny bit? What is the difference between a program study and an issue group?
I don't know that I can, but I will.
Is an issue group more involved in advocacy? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, it really does. It's a little bit deeper when you think about the issue groups. They're going to talk about so much more when you think about domestic violence,
right?
The environment, and gun violence prevention. You will have a deeper dive when you're working with the issue groups. Okay, great. Because I know in our unit, we particularly have some people that are interested in things and they don't want to go full blown into a study, but they would like to follow it and be involved with it. So that's something that we could all, our unit chairs could promote that as a possibility to join. Please do, because the issue groups really, it's a deep dive into all of the affordable housing, justice reform and redistricting and transportation. Good. And our leaders are really great, and they really have studied these things, and you'll get so much more information from the issue groups.
Great. Okay. Ernie, thank you immensely for joining us and for enlightening us to this. So we're going to move on forward. And right now I'm going to ask our leadership team, Pat and Catherine, to give us a message to get us onto a kickoff, get the ball going.
All right.
It's
Hello,
all yours.
everybody. Hello, everybody. I'm Pat, and I want to say welcome to the 22-23 league year. It's going to be a year of many challenges, and probably more importantly, a year of many opportunities to empower voters and defend democracy. We have many opportunities for people to volunteer. You can see that on the volunteer calendar page on our website that we sent. And thanks to Anu, who creates and sends out our e-news every week. You will see a lot of those volunteer opportunities mentioned there, and other events for you to attend. So I'm happy to serve as co-president this year, along with the new co-president, Catherine. And Catherine, over to you.
All right, thank you. First of all, welcome everybody. I hope that I get to meet some of you in person. Those of you I haven't met yet, we'll look forward to doing that soon. I also want to thank Judy and Ann for putting this kickoff together, really well organized. We're already ahead of time a little bit.
That's great.
Always the best. And Kelly and Ernie, thank you so much for sharing your time with us this morning and telling us kind of what some of the bigger picture is in the other parts of the league. Today is a really important day for us. Units are the backbone of our local league. You're the conduits between leadership and the broader membership, and that needs to go in both directions. And the units are really where so much of our action takes place. We had a summer board retreat at which we developed a 2-year work plan for the coming 2 years. The idea of the work plan, we had great discussions about focusing and prioritizing our work, and came up with a plan that we think will help us do precisely that. The plan is on our website. It's easy to find, and it's going to be our guide for our work for the next couple of years. Any new ideas that come up, I think we're going to try and look at our work plan, make sure they fit with our priorities, with our budget. However, in no way should any new ideas be discouraged. We're constantly evolving. We must continue to do so. We encourage units to talk freely about our work, our priorities, and unit leaders to pass along as much as you can about what the membership in general is thinking. That's the only way we can really be effective and make sure everybody is as engaged as possible. And so with that, get off to a great kickoff today and have a great year.
Thank you, Catherine, so much. We're glad to have you on board as the new co-chair, and we certainly thank Anu for all that she has done in the last sequence. So a big thank you.
Absolutely. Anu's shoes are hard to fill, I will say.
Right, and we are just delighted that she's staying on to do the e-news, which I just love. I love to read that every Saturday because it's so full of pictures, and I often see my own picture there. So that's kind of nice, and so does Pat. So that's fun. Okay, we're just going to get a little bit into the nuts and bolts of the unit's operation for our unit chairs. So bear with us all. Some of the things that are important for them, the deadlines, the writing the reports, the getting the discussion leaders, a lot of it is kind of nuts and bolts, just the operational part of it. So we want to go into that for a minute, and then I'm going to have Ann talk about that. And then I want to talk just a little bit about new members and how we welcome them and how we get them involved into our units. So Ann, would you like to go next and talk a little bit about the unit reports and the discussion leaders, and also reporting on the future meetings for the Fairfax voters. So, Ann, you're on.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I've met, or at least know, most of you who have been unit chairs the last couple of years, but there are new unit chairs, and I look forward to meeting you as we go through the year. My job is to collect information about the unit meetings. And I'm going to be talking about the two documents that were in the folder that we have, units folder. It's the unit meeting schedule for Fairfax voters and the unit meetings for September. So if you want to refer to those while I'm talking. As I said, my job is to coordinate with you and collect your meeting information, whether you're going to meet, where you're going to meet, and whether it will be public, in person or virtual. It used to be real easy because there was no virtual, but then COVID came along and it changed everything. And then now we are using both in person and virtual, and in some cases, in the same meeting. And it'd be interesting to hear about those unit chairs who've tried to do the meeting both ways and see how well that worked. But what I want to do, you probably, our connection will be by email, usually start about the middle of the month, basically like 2 months out from. So for example, for the September meetings, I sent out an email at about July the 18th, asking you to let me know where your meeting was going to be and what type, whether it was in person or virtual, and send that back to me by sometime in the later part of the month. And I finalize that and then send it to the voter no later than the 3rd of the month of the following month. So I start in July, and that's when I collect the information from you and finalize it at the end. And then I make sure that I get it to the voter by the end of that month or into the next, which would be August. So it's anyway, does anybody have any questions about that? Explain that it's a little confusing because setting the dates for the meeting, the kickoff, the at-large meeting and the briefings are always held the first Saturday of the month, and the unit meetings are held the second week of the month. So those are easy to figure out for the whole year, really. And that brings up another issue, and that is that there, out of the 12 months, there are 7 months when we have meetings and 5 months when we don't. And so usually I try to send out an email for the month. For example, like in April, we have the annual meeting then and not a unit meeting. But I'll send out an email reminding people that there will be no unit meeting, but there will be, please attend the annual meeting instead. So I think, unless people have questions, I think I've covered the way that works. And anytime that there is a change in the unit chair or the point of contact for your unit, please let me know so that I can send it, make sure that I include the new person's contact information. Any questions? Okay.
Okay, and another piece of the nuts and bolts.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I have a question.
yeah, Sue.
Anne, yeah, sorry. There was a handout which gave the timeline that you just reiterated about when you ask for the information, when it's received and when it goes out in the newsletter. And I can't find that handout right now. I'm just looking. Can you help me locate it? I'm
Oh.
pretty sure I just saw it. What was it called?
Look
Sorry.
under it.
Emma
It-
Beth, do you want to put it up? Can you find it?
I just need the name of it because I have just seen it, but I can't.
Okay, it's the unit
What's the name?
meeting schedule for Fairfax voter. Unit,
Unit meeting schedule for Fairfax voter.
yeah, that's.
Okay, I will look for it because I know I've seen it. Thank you very much.
And-
Okay.
And
Just to clarify, that document, I did put down, it's like step one, between the 18th and the 24th of the month, I sent out the request for the, your information on your meeting. And then I also said the 24th through the 30th that I would review. These are not hard dates in here.
No.
You know, it's the middle of the month between the time I send it out to the end of the month for you to get back to me with your information. I encourage you to do it as soon as you can, but it's not. I divided up that period of time, and it really is all kind of. It doesn't matter as long as you get it back to me by the end of the month. Okay.
and this is a good segue to the unit letter is something that I'm responsible for getting out. And usually, and this is for all of you board members and leaders, anything that you need to give to me, I would appreciate it if you would give it to me by the 25th of the month, because I send it out to all the units on the 1st of the month. And in that unit letter are some pertinent things that are coming up, but also in that unit letter will be the attachments that you need, specifically the attachment for the unit report specific to that particular meeting. Okay, there is a generic form that's on the website, but as you know, each meeting has its own discussion questions. So I will, Sue, I just wrote a note to myself that I will attach the unit meeting schedule for the Fairfax voter in my unit letter. So that make sure that you all have it. I know there was a lot of handouts that went out to everybody. So, yeah.
I did just find it. Thank you very much.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I did, yes.
Well,
It was
thank
just-
you for alerting us to us, because that we are dependent on the deadlines of the Fairfax voter, which I believe is the 3rd of the month. Is that right, Ann?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the 3rd of the month,
Month.
right?
Yeah.
And so my unit letter will also go out on the 1st of the month. That will give you a chance to read it and to have all the information you need for your upcoming meeting. And just another word about the unit reports. It's very important. Sometimes I know our unit is early on, and sometimes we're the last unit in the sequence. And the board does need those unit reports because obviously they want to find out our consensus to pull it together for the whole board and the Fairfax unit to make consensus. So just be mindful of that. I'm sure maybe our program people will also mention that if you're one of the last units this meeting, you kind of got to get on the hot stick and get that unit report out pretty quickly. Otherwise, you have maybe a few days.
I
Okay.
have a question.
Well,
Yeah, Sue, go ahead.
okay. Often our comments go over the space that is provided on the form. And I've asked this before, but I'm never really sure. Do you want just really succinct responses, or do you want half an essay? I'm assuming you don't want half an essay, but
Well, I think that really needs to come from our program people. So do you want to respond to that now, Judy and Julie, or do you want to wait till your segment when you come on to answer that?
I can just respond to it quickly
Okay.
now. And that we would like the reports to be succinct. The important things that a lot of the units agree on or trends that you see, yeah. But it doesn't have to be word for word, the discussion.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
I have a question.
yes,
Suzanne Cantor.
yeah.
I have, it's a tech question. Is there, how do you send this stuff back to you? Do I have to what I have to do is apparently make a PDF of the stuff that comes from the meeting and then send it? Or is it sent out in a format that I can fill out the form online and send it back to you? I mean, it's just like if my scanner isn't working, I'm stumped, because then I gotta do something, go to and copy and mail and it doesn't happen. Okay, I'll be honest with you. So the question is there some way that both the unit report and the discussion report can be done where we just fill it in and press a button that goes back to whoever who wants it? I mean, I don't know. I am not good at this kind of stuff. So
The way
Can I answer it?
yeah,
Can I answer her?
go ahead.
So actually, and very quickly, I found this on my phone. If you click on your notes on your phone, it has a scanner. So you don't need any app, you don't need a printer. Just click on your notes. This little, I don't know if you can see the little yellow and white icon. Can you see it?
okay.
Okay, it's the notes icon. Just click on it and pretend you're writing a note. When you go to writing a note, just click on the camera picture and it can scan documents very easily. So
Okay, we'll have to talk about this because
Yeah.
I don't have a camera that shows up. Okay.
Okay,
I'll show
Pat
it.
has something to say. Do you want to
Yeah.
answer that question?
The document is a Word document, so you can type on it. But what you have to do is you can type on it, save it to your computer, and then send the saved copy.
That's
So it's actually
Attach
pretty
the
easy.
saved copy to your.
Okay,
to your
so I
email.
mean, but what this means is I take notes at the meeting and then I have to come home and type it.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yep.
And if you have trouble, you can either email Emma Bett or me or somebody, and we can help you with that process.
Okay, so I type it at home in Word. And then send the Word doc. Okay,
Yes.
yes. Okay, so both the unit report and the discussion report are Word documents.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, I will send it as a Word document. It'll come out with the unit letter.
okay,
And then exactly as Pat has described it is the way I do it for my unit. I download it, I fill it in, I type it in, I save it to my computer, and then I send it back to the names that are listed there
yeah.
for those email addresses, and just as an attachment. So it will go to the two program chairs. It will go to myself and yeah,
It goes to
Yeah.
Ann. The other
and it
Ann.
goes to
The
Ann,
other
and
Ann.
it goes to Ann.
Yeah,
Right.
the other Ann. Okay.
Good.
Right.
Thanks for asking the questions, because this is the time to get it down and to do it. And Ann, as you're going forward, if you have questions, you're always welcome to email me. And if I don't know the answer, I'll try to find it for you. Okay.
I'll ask Mary Volder first. She knows everything.
Well, I'm trying very hard to emulate Mary. She did an extraordinary job. Thanks. Okay.
And
Yeah.
remember that there is a unit page on our website, and it has has information that you need. And every month after the unit people create the new report for that specific month, Emma Bett will post it on that web page. So you can always go to that page. I put it in the chat box, and then you can always see it there too. Because I remember when I was doing the unit, I would lose the email and then I would have to ask for it again. You can always go to the page, and Emma Bett is showing you what that page looks like.
Good, good. Thank you. Thank you, Emma Bett. That's great. There's a lot, the website is rich with a lot of information if we find it. And if we take time to go to it, it's very good. So great. Are there any other questions about the nuts and bolts of how we do it? It seems to work, and our program chairs may have a little bit of a different slant on it as well as what they want for the, another thing that you might consider, the unit chair does not necessarily have to be the person to take the notes during the meeting. Some people find it hard to lead a meeting and also to do double duty and to write notes as they are going along. But some units do appoint a recorder. I like to do it myself because I'm a visual person and I learn by writing. So I do it, but some units. So that's something that you can consider for your unit. And again, it depends on how big your unit is and what is going on. So, okay, I just wanted to say one thing about new members, since that is so big on our horizon. And we certainly talked a lot about this at our retreat, about how to attract and get new members involved. So I'm just going to jump through just a couple of my thoughts that I put down. And if anybody, we have about 2 or 3 minutes here. And if any of the other units would like to just chime in with something that they're doing. When I first took over as unit chair, I didn't know diddly squat. I came in during COVID. I was new to Green Spring. I didn't know a soul. So one of the, Pat is shaking her head because she drafted me to be co-chair with her.
Yes, I did.
So one of the things I did right away was to call all the members in our unit, just to get to know them and try to find out what it is that they like, what are their interests. Now you can't do that with everybody, but with your new members, you certainly can do that. Find out what it is like that they want to do, inventory them, get them involved right away. One of the things that Pat does in our unit is ask each one of the new members to write a bio of themselves, just a little bit about what they're doing and who they are, and send it out. And it's amazing how that really, the personal touch grabs people's interest. Get folks involved in doing some kind of a social component with the mission. Postcard writing, and I know Don is going to talk about that as we go forward. Have a day that you just get together and write postcards together. Get your new members involved. Get your new members involved as discussion leader. I have a new member who's coming on board to do the discussion leader in October, and I've been back and forth with her. I'm really mentoring her, and Pat and I are going to mentor her to make sure she has the tools and that she can do it. So that's an important thing. And another thing I think about the new members that we need to keep in mind, and this is really resonated with me, is that we need to educate them about what the league is and how the league works. This new member that's going to be a discussion leader in October had millions of questions about what was consensus and what was going to be doing at the meeting. And I really think, I know we do a wonderful job with the orientations, but we need to encourage our new members to join them. And I'm thinking of even taking a little bit of time at the beginning of each meeting to go through the process and explain what the meeting, we have 10 new members at Green Spring. Okay, so that's a little bit extraordinary. So that's like half of our meetings are new members. So what I think I'm going to do is to just talk a little bit about, if it's a consensus meeting, how we arrive at what's the process. And actually, one of the things I did when I got back from the National League is I had the unit members, and particularly the new members, come and listen to what was happening at the national level and how we form consensus. So just be cognizant of that we have such an ingrained sense of what our process is. Those of us who've been with the league many years, these new folks don't. And so just make sure that we can as much as possible, get them involved and educate them about how we go about our work. So any other units want to chime in? We have, I think we have maybe one more minute. Any other things that units are doing for new members that you'd like to share that would be helpful for all of us? Anything else? Now's your time. All right, if you think of something later, we'll call on you. That's great. Okay, now I'm going to hand the ball over to Judy H. Judy, you are on.
Thank you, Judy. Emma Beth, could we please have slide 1?
Oops. 1 second, please.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Welcome to Proactive for Breaking News, brought to you today by the League of Women Voters of the Fairfax Area Program and Action Advocacy. Joining me today is my co-director of program, Julie Jones, and the co-directors of Action Advocacy, Anu Sai and Barbara Boardman. Thank you, Emma Beth. You can take that slide down. Julie, we're going to get right to it today because we have a show that is packed full of breaking news. So, Julie, I'm going to start with you because I hear that the State League will be keeping us very busy this year with consensus studies. So please share with us a little bit about this thing that the League finally refers to as consensus. Julie?
All right. I hope I don't see myself as being the person talking.
You're on. We see you.
All right, good. The other Judy just talked a little bit about consensus, and our state and their last convention voted for 4 items that they were going to study, and that now we get to talk about reaching consensus on their report. They have these 4 studies they have provided us, and we need to reach some conclusion, some sense of what they want as a position by the end of February, or the beginning of March is usually the process. What happens, they have a study group. The group studies the issue that they're interested in. They provide a report. They talk about it. They send it to the board of the State League. The State League approves it. They put out some questions. We discuss those questions all through the whole state of Virginia. We go back and say, yes, we agree with this question, or we don't. And it goes back to the state. They decide what the consensus, and it's not a vote, it's the majority opinion, goes back. They write a position. This position becomes part of what they give to the next board. And if it is approved, then it's a position that anybody in the state can advocate for, lobby for, discuss as something that the league believes in. Well, we have 4 of those. In October, we have childcare. We skip November because it's a general meeting. December, we're going to talk about education equality. January, we talk about finance reform. And in February, we have environmental justice. Well, that will give us quite a bit of things to think about and to read. Because of the state timeline, the October issue of the voter will not have the report printed because the the timeline is way late. So we will put it on the website as soon as we receive it. And we will keep reminding you, it's on the website. It's on the website so that you will be able to read it before you have a unit meeting.
Okay,
And
thank you. Go ahead.
And I was just going to say, and because of this, the briefings will not be the same as we normally think of that first Saturday, because some of these will be from the state talking about their report, and we thought that would be better. And we will make sure that all the discussion leaders and the unit heads leaders will be able to see and have the briefing. And we will also make sure that the members at large will be notified.
Thank you, Julie. So the breaking news is, number one, there will be no first Saturday briefings until December. The second to note is that the childcare briefings will be sponsored by the state leagues, and you will see the dates in the next unit letter, and we'll get the links to your discussion letters and to you all as soon as we have them. Thank you. Now I'm going to turn to Barbara, because Julie mentioned the general meeting in November. Barbara, tell us a little bit about what you and Anu are planning.
Hi. So we'll see our TV screens. We're being breaking news here. Following up on the discussion on the consensus studies in childcare, we're planning to have our general meeting, and this is breaking news. We're aiming for Sunday, November 20th at 2 p.m. It'll be via Zoom, okay? And our topic is, more breaking news, children's rights, which allows us to cover this with this broad topic, childcare, early childhood education. We're also going to throw in nutrition and child health and safety, which can include everything from mental health to gun violence. So we thought that it was a good way of sort of laying out some issues that are of major concern to us and getting some outside speakers on it. We've already contacted Emily Griffey, who is the Chief Policy Officer for Voices for Virginia's Children, and she's agreed to be our keynote speaker. And we're planning on following that with a panel to discuss the 4 topics of childcare, early child education, nutrition, and child health and safety. And we already have a commitment from Anne Marie Toohey, who's the director of the Fairfax Office for Children and a really wonderful expert on early childhood education. So if anybody has any questions, otherwise, we're excited that we'll have a good general meeting. We want to get a lot of people involved and get, if you have friends or other groups that we should be working with, let's get them to know about these issues also. So.
Thank you, Barbara.
And back to you, Judy.
Yeah, thank you, Barbara. You can always see that the Proactive 4 has been pretty busy. So mark your calendars, November 20th, 2 p.m. via Zoom. Okay, general meeting. Thank you. And now back to Julie. I've given my co-director all the kind of like really complicated things to talk about. So Julie, our audience received a handout in the kicked off folder, which was the program calendar. But the calendar, if anybody's looked at it, is really, really tight this year. So however are we going to find time for this thing we call program planning? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
All right. So many people talked about program planning as one of their least exciting meetings, although there are few advocates for it as being the most important, because it provides us with directions that our members are interested in, issues that our members are interested in. Well, this year we have 2 levels of the league that we look at their positions. We look at the positions from the national capital area and the state of Virginia. And what is the idea of that is to look at their positions, decide, oh, we should retain this because it's a good position. We want to update it because the language is a little old, or there's things that need to be added to it, or we don't need it anymore. And frankly, they never get rid of anything because it'll always come back up. But anyhow, that's part of it. Then we also at this time say, oh, there's a real issue for the national capital area that we need to study. And it's always the case that, oh, if you want to do this, you better be willing to be a leader in it, because we always have people interested in those things, but nobody will take the poll and go off. Well, we've decided, because of all the state studies that we have and all our results of these program planning decisions have to be done before the conventions of those entities, both the national capital and the Virginia, that we're going to do something different. We're going to put sections of these positions in the voter in small increments, like 5 different voters, and ask people to respond to those. If they're really interested in it, they'll respond. If they're saying, oh, this position looks fine, they probably won't say anything, and we will take that as, oh, it's okay. So it's a little different. We're hoping it'll work. And since the survey that Jessica Storrs provided and we've looked at very carefully, we think this might be a viable way of getting responses and also fitting into the timeline.
Hey, thank you, Julie. Thank you. Now we're going to pause now for a brief commercial break. Don't go away. We're going to be right back. Emma Beth, second slide, please. Okay, thank you, Emma Beth. Okay, and that's our e-news. And it comes out every Saturday morning. So it was out there this morning, and Anu is very good and very consistent about that. If you don't see it in your new mail folder on Saturday morning at 5:45, and I know you're all going to be up checking it at 5:45 next Saturday, check your spam folders for the latest, greatest breaking news. Okay, Anu. I know that you don't want to wait till the last minute this year to set Fairfax League's legislative priorities. So what are you thinking? How are you going to manage this?
Well, I'd like to start by congratulating Judy. Most of you don't know this, but she's starting a new career on Foxy News. And
Foxy News, okay.
yeah, it's for all of us Foxy ladies, but just kidding. So actually, Jessica's survey was really helpful because we read that 83% of the members who'd responded, which is not 100%, which is sad, but 83% wanted us to focus on voting rights. I guess we are the League of Women Voters, so it makes sense. So we will be doing a lot of work on voting rights. Now, the good news is that Fairfax County seems to do a pretty good job on voting and elections anyway, but we have Arena and Maggie who'll be attending the meetings, and as and when things come up, we will be doing advocacy work or action on it. And we will be calling on our members to either write letters or make phone calls, whether it's to Fairfax County leadership or in Richmond. The other thing that we are working on, we did work on it last year too, and you all probably know about it, CEDAW. So we will be following up with the Fairfax County. Now, CEDAW is the Convention on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, all discrimination. And as you know, this is the year for big time discrimination against women. So we have our work cut out for us. September 22nd is when the county comes up with its report, where they will be collecting data on where, and actually, I don't know which departments exactly, we'll get to know that in a few weeks, where women are being actually discriminated against. So that is one big item we'll be working on. And as usual, we'll be commenting on the budgets, both for the schools and the county. And one thing we had discussed was setting up a committee of our members who are interested in action and advocacy and have ideas. So we will be sending out a survey later on in the year after the general meeting as a little Christmas project for our members. And last but not the least, as you all know, we've had issues with our library on content and such like. So as and when things come up, we will be taking action. And as usual, counting on our members to make calls, write letters, and basically keep our leadership and our organizations on their toes. Did I miss anything, Barbara?
Nope,
No.
I think you're right on.
I
Okay,
think
all
you're right
right,
on.
all
Okay.
right.
I
Back to
think
you,
we're also
Judy.
going to try and get people more, just do some alerts and make sure that everyone's aware that they should be involved with the state legislative action in January. So we will
Okay.
work on that in December after they.
Yeah, actually to follow, I did miss out something. So this is
Okay.
what happens when you do handwritten notes. So we will be working with the state league. We plan to meet with Denise Harrington to see how we can work together.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And now, Julie, I've given you a lot of complicated things to talk about, but now for a fun thing, can you take just a couple of seconds to talk about the March book discussion?
Yes. One of the things that came from the survey was people liking the idea of book groups. And if we had a leader, we could have them monthly or quarterly, but we decided we'd have it in March and I have a question for the unit leaders to think about. Do they want one book that all of us read, or do they want a book that their unit is interested in? It's up to you unit leaders what you want to do. But we have some books that have been recommended. Robert E. Lee and Me, which would follow up the reparations type story. We have One Person, One Vote by Carol Anderson. Obviously, the title tells you that. The Invention of Wings, which by Sue Monk Kidd, it talks about the Grimsey sisters and how they instigated and helped women's voting and against slavery. So if you have books that you'd like to recommend, and please let us know if you want one that we recommend for everybody, or whether your unit would like to have their own choice.
Right. Yeah, thank you, Julie. And one of our new members recommended the Robert E. Lee and Me. I got it from our library, Fairfax County Library, and I've started to read it, and it's a great, easy read, packed full of Virginia history. So written by a former brigadier general who teaches history at West Point. Okay, last but not least, Julie, back to you again. What's happening for the league in 2023, just really fast?
All right, I know we're almost over our time, but April 15th, 1948, our Fairfax League was chartered. So 75 years ago in April, we are going to have a celebration. We need help planning this celebration. I know that we had a celebration for the 100th year of the whole league. Now we have the 75th for ours. So if you're interested in helping, thinking about how to do this, we're hoping to have the annual meeting and the celebration sort of combined. It's a wonderful time for a social. So please let us know if you have ideas. And I think we can have a wonderful, wonderful celebration.
Thank you, Julie. That's a wrap up, folks. Hope you enjoyed the Proactive Breaking News show. And in case you didn't get it, the Proactive 4 program action advocacy. So thank you. Again, reminder, check your e-news every Saturday, chances to sign up for many good things and late breaking news. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Great, great. Good to hear that. We're going to take a little break and we'll come back. It is 10:40. We're a little just 5 minutes behind. That's all right. We'll come back at 10 minutes before 11, a 10-minute break. We'll come back at 10:50, and we're going to have a spotlight on our units. So unit chairs, gear up. I sent you some emails with some potential questions that I would just like you to have fun with. The first question is, what's something unusual about you that nobody knows? That would be kind of fun. The second thing is, what are you proud of that your unit has accomplished? And the third question is, what is the challenge that you're facing? And the reason I put these questions on is particularly the challenge. If we're listening and we hear another unit that has the same challenge, I'm hoping we'll start to dialogue and share with each other what we're doing, because the answer to most of the solutions to most of the problems and the challenges are right within ourselves. So that's where we're going to be at 10 minutes of 11. Take a break, leave your Zoom on, and we will be back. So I'll see you in 10 minutes. I had to run to the bathroom. I'm trying to drink as I'm taking this anti-inflammatory thing. But then it's terrible.
It's going very well.
I hope you're pleased.
You know, it's really looks good.
Yeah.
And the program people did a great job.
I knew they were gonna do something funny.
They
They
told
told me that.
Yeah, I love their TV screens. I don't know how to do that.
I wanna know how to do that too. That was.
I know how to put a party hat on, but. Okay, you're doing great. I shut the doors because otherwise we get feedback.
Oh, I know, I
Yeah.
know, I know.
So I might run out while they're doing the next part to check the mailbox, but
Okay.
I'll be here.
Yeah.
But I don't think you need me. Emma-Bette's doing great.
Yeah, she's following up with it, everything.
I'm going to recommend 2 more books to Judy and Julie that I've recently read. How the Word is Passed, which is about slavery, it's an excellent book. I like it even better than Robert E. Lee and Me that I've also read.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another book about voting rights, and it spoke to me because it's about the Native Americans in North Dakota
Oh,
years ago.
you know what? Our unit might be very interested in that book. Our people.
Anybody that's on this, you have a good idea about our 75th anniversary celebration, what we should do?
Do we have any photos from that time that we could do a small exhibit of the founding?
I'll have to look, but we have programs from the 25th, the 40-something, the 60th, that have some interesting information in them.
We have a large poster somewhere, rectangular this way, that has a sequence of photographs.
Right.
It's somewhere in the office, I think, and that would be a useful beginning.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah.
But I know on something that, we have to, if we're doing it non-virtually,
Mhm.
trying to find a space and that type of thing,
Oh.
we have to start soon.
Mhm.
I have done a few exhibits at my local library. They have a space that they allow you to do an exhibit, and I've done a few there. Might be nice to do it in Fairfax City Library if they have such a space where it can be viewed by many people, but you probably would need to book that space soon.
You would. Mm. They have a big community room at Fairfax City Library.
Right, but this
We're talking about combining it now with the annual meeting, right, Julie?
Yeah,
Is
but
that what you're
we
thinking?
could also, publicize it by putting it in a library.
But the date was April 15th, 1948, right?
Well, that's when it was founded. That's not necessarily the celebration date, but April sometime.
Okay, so you could see if they have in Centerville, they have this glass fronted display space, which is not huge, but I'm sure it's definitely doable. And again, if you had pictures or any memorabilia, maybe that's asking a bit too much from the 40s, that might make a nice thing for April, and that there's time to work on that, depending on what you have in terms of memorabilia. Anyway, that's just an idea.
No, we'll have to look at Bernice Colvart's. She has picture albums that might have some things that would be useful to.
Okay, we're going to give everyone about a minute here to get settled, and we're going to start. Little warning, 1 minute warning.
Judy, I didn't get an email about these questions. If I did, I can't find it. So I remember the first question. What were the other two questions?
Thank you, Sue. The first question is, tell us a little bit something about yourself, something unusual that people might not know, just personal.
Yeah.
The second is, what is one accomplishment or something about your unit that you're most proud of? And then what is that's one thing, and one thing that your unit is a challenge. And we'll just make it very brief. There are 10 or 11 of us unit chairs on. If we each take a minute or less, we're good to go. And the purpose is so we can get to know each other a little bit and get to know our units and what's going on. All right, everybody unmute, please. We are good to go. I'm kicking off the ball. I guess we're probably on the 50-yard line at this point. We're halfway through. So great job so far. You're holding with us. I haven't seen anybody disappearing. That's good news. It's always very good news. So this is the spotlight on our units. The questions that I had posed, and I had sent them out earlier, but it's okay if we lost them, as we will refigure them. The first question is something about you that is unusual. This is for our unit chairs. What is something unusual about you that you would like us to know that we may not? The second question is what do you think is the biggest accomplishment for your unit in the last, let's say, 2 years? And the third is what is a challenge that your unit is facing? So I'm going to go first since I'm a unit chair. And I'm going to describe something to you that's unusual about me. And I want you to think about what I was doing. I went on the train into New York City. And when I got into Grand Central Station, it was empty. There were policemen all over the place with submachine guns. There was no traffic in New York City at all. It was a beautiful September day. And I couldn't get a taxi or anything. I walked up to Lincoln Center. I was wearing a long black dress. What was I doing? And what day was it? I'll give you a clue. It was September 11, 2011.
Ooh.
What was I doing at Lincoln Center with a long black dress?
Singing.
Got it. You got it. I
have a long black dress too.
I am a singer, and I still sing with the Manassas Chorale where I used to live out there. And we sang, the Manassas Chorale joined a group of singers to sing a mass on the 10th anniversary of 9/11 with many other choral groups. It was the most emotional singing of my life. At the end, we sang a requiem that was written just for us. You could have heard a pin drop at the end. There was silence, dead silence, and then all of a sudden erupting into applause and a standing ovation. So that's a little something about me that you don't know. Now, Pat McGrady, can I call on you?
Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna pass the ball to her. She's my co-chair at Greenspring. So can you answer those 3 questions, Pat?
I think I can.
Good. Go for it.
Probably the thing about me that might be interesting is that I'm a 60-year member of the league. I was from Chicago originally, and I was for my first 17 years after college, I was peripatetic. I found that word to be exactly right for me, and it's better than vagabond or bum. So I lived all over the country. I had 23 jobs in my life, but everywhere I went in the country, I found the league unit because I knew that if I went there, I would find people that were similar to me and had my same interests.
Good. How about our challenge to our unit? One thing you're proud of about our unit, Pat?
Well, that's easy, and I should tell you because it was Judy's project that she had the idea of when she came here. Almost
2 years ago.
Yeah, and that is we make up a packet of voter registration and information for new residents. And every month we get the list. We live at Greenspring, as you know. Every month when we get the list of new residents, we give them this packet of information. And I think that is the most notable thing. And it's all due to Judy Smith. I want to give her that. So, and the third.
And the challenge, Pat. Challenge.
The challenge is keeping Judy as co-chair of our unit when she was going on the board. I feared that if she left our unit, it would dissolve.
No.
There wasn't another, I'm telling you, there wasn't another person that would take the co-chairmanship. And I wasn't going to do it alone. And I think we would have dissolved, except for Judy arriving on the scene like.
Well, and I just want to add that there's a model for having a person be the chair of their unit and being the unit coordinator, and that's Mary Valder. So Mary did did the same thing. Great. All right. I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but would another unit chair like to share a little bit?
I'll go ahead.
Good. Charlene, give us your name and your unit.
Reston Day unit, and I'm probably a retread in some ways because I've done other jobs, pretty much low-key background, but I thank Rona Ackerman, Julie Jones, and a few people that gathered me in when I first retired many years ago. I think the thing that I would say I'm most proud about with Reston Day is that we have survived the pandemic. We have had shrinking attendance even with Zoom. And the last meeting was just Melissa Fitzgerald and I discussing part 1 of reparations. So our challenge is hopefully to get new members and or old members re-involved and get them back in the groove of meetings. We're going to try in person for September, but not in homes as we had been meeting, but rather at the North County Government Center community room. And we'll have to see how it goes. We'll have to be on Zoom in October because that room is not available, and we'll take it kind of one step at a time.
Thank you, Charlene. Let us know how that goes, because being in a public space like that could be a blessing too, because more people might know about it and want to come. So that's great.
That's been the push behind it. And I must say, it's been Therese Martin that's been pushing for us to get out of homes and get in a public space.
Yeah.
And many of you know Therese.
Well, yeah.
And, we'll see.
Okay. Thank you, Charlene, for popping in to share. Anyone else? Okay, Ann Cantor, tell us name and unit.
Hi, I'm Ann Cantor, and I am, again, the chairman of the McLean unit, which I probably was also 35 years ago. Okay, I'm going to brag for those of you who haven't known me for all this time. I'm a person who knows a lot of things very broadly, but not too deeply. And I've been a Jeopardy winner on the TV show. So anyways, I know a lot of stuff, not a lot about it, but I know a lot of stuff. The thing I'm proudest of the McLean unit is we have a lot of people who do other things for the league. We have a lot of ex-presidents in our unit. We have people who are on the legacy committee, although we would like more people on the legacy committee. We have a lot of people who are officers. You got Barbara Boardman obviously doing things. And so I'm really proud of the fact that we have brought a lot of leaders to the league. And our real big challenge is, although we have quite an extensive membership list, the same 6 or 8 people do all the work.
Yeah.
And when it's me and Peggy Knight and Susan Cowart and Mary Jane Cleary, and we're the ones who are at the farmer's market and doing this and doing that. And it's getting, we have a problem because the only time I can meet is Tuesday afternoon, and Tuesday afternoon is when the AAUW has a meeting, which a lot of the people that would go to our meeting with that group. So, I can think of 3 or 4 people that would come if we couldn't do that. But it's getting the worker bees separate, getting more people to give jobs to. And I just want to say, I think that is the most important way to get members to stay and get new members in, is give them a job. Just give them something to do. We have a new member, Betty Gordon, and she's going to be the discussion leader in September. And it's just, maybe it's sort of sink or swim, but I it's the only way I can think about the people who've just joined sort of casually to commit.
Great, thanks, Ann. And that's really great. Food for thought on that. Anyone else who would like to pop in? Sue, name and unit.
I have 2 hobbies that are kind of unusual.
Give us your unit, Sue, so everybody.
Sorry, you're absolutely right. Yeah, Sue O'Neill, along with Bev Darlin, who can't be here today. We are the Fairfax Station unit. My two hobbies, which are kind of unusual, I ring church bells, the big bells in the tower at the Washington Cathedral and at the old post office and at Virginia Theological Seminary. And I also collect stereo views, which are historic photos from the 1850s. You put them in a contraption like this, and you get the original 3D image. So that's kind of interesting. Our unit, I'm very proud of our unit. We are vibrant, we are cohesive, we are very involved, and yet we do have diverse opinions in our unit. We have very spirited discussions. And I couldn't be prouder of being in the Fairfax Station unit. And then challenges, much as what has been said, it's usually the same people who get, pulled in to do the same job. We did have a lot of new members during COVID and during the last election, but they seemed to, it was a different kind of category of membership. They were working women, probably younger women, and didn't have the time to spare to get as involved as we are, those of us who are not working. So that to me is the biggest challenge, is to get that involved membership. And I don't know how you really necessarily do that for a different type of member.
Right. And these are things that we are wrestling with as the board as well, with our plans as well. Great. Anyone else, a unit chair, would like to pop in? Jane, name and unit, please.
Yes, Jane Pacelli, Springfield, and I'm actually not the unit chair. And when I talk about challenges, that's going to be one of the challenges. Something about me, I love going down tube slides at water parks. A lot of fun. My dream job would be to be a water slide therapist. I think that would be fantastic. I don't think it pays. So things that I'm proud of, our two co-presidents are from the Springfield unit. Yay, Springfield. And this last year, Sarah Mayhew did a great job for our Do Your Own Thing meeting, organizing a field trip to the Lucy Burns Museum and the Turning Point Memorial and a lunch afterwards. It was the leagueiest of all league events that you can imagine. It's really good.
Great.
We have a lot of challenges, again, with attendance, with membership. A lot of our members over the years have done a lot of things and held a lot of positions. And right now, nobody wants to be the unit chair. Nobody wants to be the discussion leader. Nobody wants to be the recorder. And about half the people who bothered to respond are very much in favor of in-person meetings, and about half of the other responses, and the responses were few, but are very much against in-person meetings because of COVID or travel or family care responsibilities. So we're going to try a hybrid meeting in September with some of us on a porch and a Zoom screen, and we're going to see how it goes. I'm just worried about the long-term future of the Springfield unit.
Yep, many of us are facing those issues as well. Who would Sydney, did you want to say something?
Yes, I do. Oh, sorry, wait a minute, I gotta unmute myself. You can hear me, right? I'd like to introduce you to a member who's joined 2 days ago. Her name is Jeannie Stipasivic. She's down here on my screen. She's in the lower right-hand corner. She's just joined our kickoff, and she's.
Oh, Jeannie, welcome. Yes, I see you. Thank you.
Reston Day.
Bravo. That's the way to get involved, talking about new members.
So
hopping right in. Good. Glad to have you. Okay. We'd like to hear from any other unit members who would like to. No obligation, but you're welcome to pop in.
Judy, can I just say that welcome to Jeannie, and a big thank you to Sydney for connecting with Jeannie through other activities and encouraging her to join the league. And I certainly look forward to meeting you, Jeannie, in September.
Good. That's wonderful.
Jeannie has already participated in one of the naturalization ceremony new citizen events.
That's a great way to get new members involved, isn't it?
Yeah. Up there at 6:45 in the morning, I have to tell you. So
Bravo, wonderful. Okay, I know we're running a little behind, but I think this is so valuable to hear from our unit chairs, so bear with us. Wendy, did you want to say? Go ahead, unmute.
Sure. Thanks, everyone. My name is Wendy Fox-Grage, and I'm with the Rest and Evening Unit. So an unusual thing about me is, but I think some of you know this about me because I've been in the league for a long time. For 17 years, I was in a rock and roll band. And there's a connection to the league. So our drummer was Carol McCaleb's son, Fred. So I'm sorry, bass player. And our drummer is Costi Tudon. He's married to Beth Tudon, our former executive director's husband. And my husband's in it, and he's a league member also. An accomplishment, and you're about to meet her, is we do have a new I have a new co-chair to our unit, and it's Amy Leeson, who's fantastic, and we're excited about her coming on board. And then we share the same challenges as all the other units, just to echo. So we've got an enormous membership list to our unit, but we only have maybe a dozen who are active out of that big list, because we meet at night. So a lot of our members actually do work during the day. We full-time, Amy and I both have full-time jobs. So about a dozen are regulars, and then who are active, and the rest, I don't know a lot of them actually. And then COVID has also been a challenge for us too. We struggle every month. Should we do in person? Should we be virtual? And what we've been doing is, with the blessing kind of our members, is when we have to decide if the meeting is going to be virtual or in person, and we really have been virtual through COVID, what we do is when we have to make the decision and get that into Judy, we decide based on the COVID numbers then, and we based off of what the latest variant is, and then we just make a decision. So that's been challenging as well. What I'll do is I'll turn it over to my co-chair, Amy Leeson, to give her feedback as well.
Good, Amy. Welcome aboard, Amy.
Thank you. Thanks. And thank you, Wendy, for the introduction. But yeah, my name is Amy Leeson. Fun fact, I guess, about me is that I do English country dancing. That's kind of been put on hold because of COVID, because it's, obviously very, physical, you're, holding hands with people and stuff. And so that was frowned upon during COVID. So we are just starting those dance groups back up, and I'm looking forward to getting back into that. I'm very excited to be a member of the Rest and Evening Unit. I think one of the greatest accomplishments of the unit has been our perseverance during COVID. We've continued to meet. We've had some great discussions, and we've also hosted the league booth at the Rest and Multicultural Festival, and we're able to engage with our community that way. And I agree with Wendy on the challenges, which I think is something that everybody is facing across the league and all of our committees. So that's it, but thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else would like to chime in?
I will speak up, although I have no fun facts about me. But
Yes,
the fun
Mary.
thing, one fun thing I do want to say is one of our new members is Benita Panino. And if all of you, many of you will recognize her last name. Yes, she's Martha's daughter. And she's very excited about being part of the league. So she's volunteered at the immigration services. She's kind of jumped in feet first and helped with the McLean unit. And so we're looking forward to another year when we drag people from their homes or however to get them back into coming to our meetings. It's been a struggle because we're trying to accommodate everybody's needs. As somebody said, some want to be virtual, some want to be in person. And we're going to try maybe at some point. I'm not sure. One of my unit officers, Celeste Land, is here, and she's kind of helping me get that off the ground, doing the virtual and the in-person. So, but that's Oakton, Vienna. Sorry, I didn't identify myself.
That's okay, Mary. Thank you.
The Oakton, Vienna unit, and we've existed for a long time in different configurations, and we have a great group for those who do come. And we're
Good.
proud of that.
Anyone else like to join? Say anything about themselves? Any unit chairs? I have to look at my screen here because
There's one.
Okay,
Susan.
okay. I'm Susan Cash from the Mount Vernon Evening Unit, and a fun fact, I enjoy visiting art museums. Let's see, this summer I visited the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts and the Museum of Fine Arts Boston, and I tend to concentrate on things with a French theme. So last weekend I went to a French film festival in Boston, and they were all interesting films, a little bit different from what you normally associate with French movies. So that was fun. With regard to the unit, we're small. Most of us have been members for a long time, but I think one thing which stands out with the group is I think a high level of emotional intelligence and knowing how to get along together and pitch in when needed. A challenge, we could use some new members, and one thing we do wrestle with is where to meet, and it just seems like we're just kind of limited in the choices that we have. We used to meet at night at the government center, but they closed earlier than our meetings normally end, and the same with the library. And so, but during the pandemic, we've been using free conference call.
Oh, okay, good. Do we have anyone else who has not said that what they'd like to share? I've got two screens here, so I can't really see. Just pop in. Okay, very good. Then, thank you for sharing. I think one thing that comes out of this is the big word is membership, and getting our members to come, getting them to join, and then getting them involved. So that's something that I know the board is looking at and will work forward with that. So thank you. We're running a little bit behind, but thank you for bearing with me. So we still want to hear from very important things. We have nominating committee, public relations, membership, voter service, and voter registration. So let's go with nominating. Wendy, double duty.
Yep, double duty.
Double duty.
I will be very quick because I know we're running behind. We have 8 officers and directors whose terms expire in 2023. And so the nominating committee, for those of you on this call who have not been officers or not been on the board, or if you have any questions, we would highly encourage you to find out about it, get involved. Please call me. I'll put my contact information in the chat. We do not want to, unlike past years, we don't want to wait until 2023. Earlier is better. So if you have any questions or want to get more involved, it's one of the better things that I've done in my life is get involved with the board. I learned so much. I mean, the board is just has amazing people. It's just a phenomenal opportunity. The other thing is for those 8 officers and directors who are on this call, whose term is ending this year, if you can give it some thought as to if you want to continue with another term, and also if we talked a lot about new members and mentoring. I know so many of us got involved in leadership positions because we were recruited by a league member. So we want to encourage you to mentor members who have not been in leadership and show them what you do and help with recruiting. So the name of the game this year is the nominating committee wants this to be a full year-round process and not wait into the end in 2023. Back to you, Judy.
Great. That was short, sweet, and said it all. Thank you, Wendy. So are you going to put your contact information in the chat? Good. All right. That will be excellent. And then people will know. And also, I urge you to put it into the e-news and some of those things too as we go forward. Okay, we have public relations with Katharina. Is she here?
I'm here.
Good. She's right in the center of my screen. Good. Let's go.
Hi, everybody. Yes, so my name is Katarina Gollner-Sweet, and I'm the PR director. I'm with the McLean unit. So our goal is in PR is to promote the league and its positions, to educate people about the elections, and to encourage people to register to vote, and actually to vote, obviously. So we work with both the traditional as well as the social media. Personally, I work primarily with the traditional media, and that includes local papers and their websites. And Emma just put this brief plan up for you all to see. So my focus this fall will be these are just examples. Primarily, I work with the voter registration people as well as the voter service people. So I don't want to get ahead of them. I'm sure Dawn and Amy will be talking about all of these things during their presentations. But in addition to these events, I would encourage all of you unit leaders to let me know when you're doing something that might be of interest to the broader community. And that includes just photos. So for example, if you're going on any field trips, then take a few pictures and let us know. And we can try to post those either on social media or even include them in some articles with the traditional media. So the social media is being handled right now by several people, including Emma Bett and Pat and Arena. So, but if you have anything that would be more appropriate for the social media, you're welcome to send it to me and I will funnel it to the right person. I think that's it. Any questions? No?
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, well, PR is important. And there's a link between PR and getting members. The more we can publicize what we're doing, the more of interest people will come and join.
Right, right. So we have, I mean, Arena has a project, I think probably, Amy, you're going to talk about that with George Mason. Are you going to be talking about that? No? Okay, so briefly then, so Arena has put together a proposal to work with George Mason students. And we got the proposal approved by them. So we're going to be working with some students from the Honors College at George Mason. And the focus is to try to figure out how we can appeal better to young people, and through social media primarily. And specifically how we can encourage them to vote, not only in presidential, but also in state and local elections, which they don't usually do. I mean, the percentage is very low for those elections for everybody, of course, but especially for young people. So, so they are going to be getting credit for this. It's part of their course of coming up with some ideas for us to use in the future. So we're very excited about working with these students, and hopefully that will help us not only encourage them to register and to vote, but also to hopefully join the league. So anyway, that's it in a nutshell. Hopefully Arena will be able to brief you all in more detail, but that's, I think that's a really exciting thing that.
Very, very exciting project. Very exciting. Good. Thank you very much, Katerina. We appreciate what you're doing. Donna, membership.
All right.
Is Donna there? I believe she is. Donna, first of all, we want to thank you. I know you and Lynn have been working off your kazoos these last 2 months to update us with all the renewals of membership, the dues payments, and getting those membership lists up to date. It's a mammoth job and we appreciate it. So Tell us a little bit about what you need from the unit chairs and what you are going to be doing for the unit chairs.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
We can hear, can you speak louder? I'm having trouble hearing you.
All right, I will.
That's
That's no
better. That's
problem. I
better.
got a voice, okay?
That's better. Thanks, Donna.
All right. First of all, just for those who are new chairs, I usually, in fact, almost always get a update of the membership rosters, both for the entire Fairfax League and for the units, out to people like you to distribute to the unit chairs somewhere around to the end of the month, because we want that updated unit roster to go out along with the unit letter. So when people have their meetings in the within the next couple of weeks, they've got the roster. It is really helpful to me for people just to pass it on to their members and say, look, is this information for you correct? And I know Mary Balder is just religious about returning it and saying, this email doesn't work, this phone number doesn't work, whatever. And that is very helpful to me. The second thing is, feel free to contact me at any time. I do not always respond immediately because sometimes I have a choice of entering information into the databases or responding to emails. I think we've all been there. So next, I'm going to be sending out a message within the next couple of weeks asking people what changes they would like to have in the rosters. Okay, for example, someone has requested that those Excel spreadsheets, the first and last name are combined. They would like them in separate columns. No problem, I can do it. I know a lot of people are not Excel savvy, and to me, it's a matter of 2 minutes to create, re-wicker the Excel spreadsheet the way you want it, the way it is useful to you. So if I'm not doing something that you know that you're struggling with, let me know, because I'm going to be modernizing it. I've had a request, for example, someone would like to be able to get the inactive members accessed as well. And I have not been keeping inactive members via unit membership. So I will sometime within the next couple of months try to bring that in. The second thing is going back to new members. I send a welcome letter. When I enter someone into the databases, I send a welcome letter. Would the unit chairs want to be CC'd on that welcome letter so they know that I have, entered someone in a particular unit? Unless it's requested, and some people do request a specific unit, I look at the zip code and put them in the nearest unit. Well, this can sometimes be confusing. Is it day or evening? And so, some people say, well, I don't want the email. And I always say, yeah, you can go anywhere you want, but contact needs to be made, I think, to push that along. So do people want to be CC'd? The unit chairs that I've assigned them to CC'd on that welcome letter, so you know what I'm doing. Okay, let me know. And I will put in the chat, I will put the way you can contact me. And a lot of people join because they want to, well, 3 reasons. They want to just financially support the league. They don't want to be involved. They are usually UAM, unaffiliated. The second is they actually do want to volunteer, but you've really got to coax them. And people won't be this month. Well, ask them again next month. And the third reason, believe it or not, is they want to meet new people. A lot of people view the league as a way to meet like-minded people of great amiability. So it's a good opportunity to think about a way to reach out to people and maybe assign, as they say, a mentor to a new member and say, for that person to go out and take them out for coffee or just call them on the phone and chat with them. Okay, with that, I'm going to shut down so we can move on and let other people finish.
Thank you, Donna. So if you would like to be unit chairs, if you would like to be CC'd on Donna's welcome letter, please let her know. Okay, that's great. Okay, going on. Voter service, Mr. Don, you are on.
Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing? Great meeting so far.
just go really briefly. Hopefully you saw the e-news this morning and in previous news that was put out. My focus is our candidate forums. And so we have 2 coming up for this year, Congressional District 8, which we're hosting in combination with the Arlington Fairfax League and then the Falls Church League. And so we've already sent invitations and received responses from the 3 candidates for their participation. It is going to be a virtual event that's going to be held on October the 13th in the evening, starting at 7. So we're just finalizing the preparations. I will be sending out more information as far as volunteers that may be needed. But between all the 3 units or league units, we should be fine. The other one is for Fairfax City. We're going to have a meet and greet on September the 29th at the American Legion Hall in Fairfax City, and with several of our co-sponsors that will be assisting with us. But what I would like to ask that from our league members to definitely step up and volunteer on that evening. What we'll be doing is, again, it's going to be a meet and greet. The candidates will do a 2-minute intro, and then from there, they'll be spread around the room to do the meet and greet. And so we would like to have at least 2 either league or non-league members to be there to assist and just to kind of keep things rolling so that not just one person is hogging all the time or whatnot on that. So those are the 2 things on the candidate forms that we have. The next thing that we're doing the postcard writing campaign. I've already got several people that have reached out to me and groups that have reached out that wanting cards. We have cards from last year, about 1,300, and so I'm getting those ready to be sent out. Typically, we do 2,000 cards. I'm still waiting from the state league as far as getting additional cards. So if we don't get them, we'll just go with what we have. But we do have a script. And then if you would like to group donate for the stamps, or we'll get you stamps to have that mailed out, and we'll be giving you addresses to be addressed to minority communities to get out the vote. The new thing that we're working on, that me and Arena have been meeting with the Fairfax Sheriff's Department around incarcerated individuals in the jails. We're going to be going into the jails to help with voter registration.
Oops.
What happened?
Don?
He froze.
We lost Don.
Yeah, he's frozen.
I don't even see his picture.
I do.
Well, his box is there, but his picture's gone.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
just lost Don. Do you want to go to somebody else? Maybe he'll.
Yeah, that's what I'm
come
gonna,
back in.
that's what I'm gonna say. So maybe Don can come back on. Let's go to Amy, doing double duty here for Arena, who is away on voter service. And certainly we've had a lot of voter service going all summer, so.
Yes, yeah, we've
We're
had.
kicking off a new year, but the game has still been going on.
Yes, yeah, we've had lots and lots of great opportunities for voter registration this summer, and those are going to continue into the fall and probably past the fall, especially with the U.S. Customs and Immigration voter registration events that we've been doing. So I know that Kelly mentioned earlier the news, the e-news this morning, where it was noted that we had registered 2,300 new citizens to vote at those USCIS events, and that is fantastic. And it's a great effort, and there's nothing more rewarding than being there to see the ceremony and then register those new citizens. One of their first actions as new citizens to register them to vote. It's wonderfully emotional, and it's just a great service to our community. And thank you to everybody who's participated in those. events, as well as the community events that we've had this summer. What I really, really want to emphasize is that we need more people. We need more people to volunteer. We need more people to get involved and get out there. I think that voter registration is one of the primary jobs of the league to, make sure people are informed about voting, that they understand what their rights are, and how to go about this. So please work with your units, encourage them to get their best hustle on going into the fall, and get out there and help us with the voter registration. We have the National Voter Registration Day event coming up on 20 September. We need 84 volunteers to run that event. So it's a massive event. Right now we have 56 people signed up, so that's a huge chunk of what we need. But there's still opportunities for people to sign up there. The other thing that I wanted to cover is the materials. So we have some great materials coming out that you'll see when you sign up for the voter registration events in your bag. We've got a great flyer that we're calling the Evergreen Flyer. Very basic. Why is voting important? Has a QR code people can go to register online if they want. Also some voter information on Vote 411 on that flyer. We're going to have the quick reference guide, which includes, key dates for upcoming elections, who can vote, all kinds of just general facts about voting, all summarized on one sheet. We have redistricting, frequently asked questions. I haven't seen very many people that interested in picking that up yet, but I think as we get closer to elections, people will probably kind of take a greater interest in that flyer. We also have Elections Are Secure. That's a great flyer, very informative, and has been well received. And we are also going to be getting the What's on the Ballot. We'll have those, and those are going to be ready for distribution at our National Voter Registration Day event. So yes, they are. They're going to be ready. Yeah.
Amy, thank you. How do we get some of these flyers, Amy? If we want some of these for our voter registration and those with the QR code.
Many of them are posted online on our website.
Oh, great.
If you go to the tab that says voter information, and Emma Beth, maybe you can pull that up. I don't know. You will see that we posted a lot of things there. When What's on the Ballot just went to the printer yesterday, so we are hoping that he prints this fast. When it is printed, it also will be posted on the website.
Great. That's good to know.
And if
so
you're
Emma Beth is show it's under
um,
voter resources, and then there's voting information. And if you scroll down a little bit, Emma Beth, then they can see that the quick reference guide is there. The redistricting FAQs are there. Virginia's elections are secure. So you can see that there's lots of information available.
Good.
And if you are going to a voter registration event, these materials are going to be in your bag. So the bags will be put together. You'll pick up those bags and you'll take them with you. So you'll have them for the events. But please encourage your unit members to take advantage of all of these great volunteer opportunities to get folks registered to vote. Because that's how we get all of this done. That's how we get all of the people registered. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Amy, for pinch hitting. Very exciting things coming up. Definitely the voter registration day. And you can think about pairing up, getting two people from your unit to go together. And it's a nice opportunity.
I have a question. Ann Cantor.
Ann, yes.
Yeah. Would you tell us again, if you are not currently up to date on your registration as a registrar, how do you go about getting yourself recertified?
You have to take the Virginia training. Amy, you want to tell them that I don't know if we have that link on our website. We
I'm
could
not
send
sure
it.
if it's on the website, but I can get that and drop it into the chat.
Yeah,
for
drop it in the
everybody.
chat.
But it's just a like roughly 30-minute training that you take online, very easy to complete, and then you know get your certification at the end.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And,
let me, I'll get that.
when you take the training, you can ask for voter registration applications. And I think, Pat, you can use a lot of those for the high school registration, can't you? Do you still need
Yes.
more?
We can always use more. We have a lot, but we can use more. And I
Okay.
see that Emma Beth put the page from the website up where you can find the link to the training video.
Good, good.
And all the information. So that's under the voter registration, volunteer calendar. When you go to the training, you can
Yeah,
see that.
and Arena, we have Arena's latest video up from August 2022 there also. So additional information to help you get registered.
Yeah, and I do want to just emphasize that there is a difference between the video that Arena puts together and the state training for certification, because sometimes people kind of conflate the two. So they are different. So please make sure that you take the state video to ensure that you're properly certified. And obviously Arena's video is excellent for additional information.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. All right.
And Don is back, I believe.
Yes, I think I was just going to call on him. He's going to have the last word. Mr. Don, it's you.
Okay, sorry about that. One of the glitches.
That's okay. I'm glad other people have it. It happens to me all the time.
Oh, more. But anyway, just to kind of end out, again, everything's on e-news, and we've been sending things out as far as the different voter services projects that we're going on. Again, if you need information, please contact me. Also, I want to offer out to all the unit chairs. I would love to attend your meetings, just to kind of update what's going on and meet people. So please let me know and invite me. I'll be glad to come. I'm in the Springfield area, but I'll be glad to come to your meetings just to either in person or virtually. But if there are any questions, I'll be glad to answer any concerning the postcard writing, the candidate forums. But just know that next year, we're really gonna have to, we'll need volunteers. So it's gonna be a busy year next year with elections. So, and depending how we go, if we do more in-person ones, we're gonna need everyone's help. Yes.
Hi, I just wondered, Don, wait, before you were cut off, you were talking about going to the jail?
Yes.
That's a new one on me.
Yeah, that's a new thing that we're doing. We reached out to the officers there, and they're letting people back in, and we're going to be one of the organizations to go in to do registration, voter registration. But we will need volunteers. What's going to happen is, hopefully you may have heard before I got caught up, that we're going to be doing a league voter jail announcement that will be ran through their system and their network, so that the incarcerated individuals will be able to see. If they're interested in contacting us, they'll be given we'll be given their information to set up appointments, and then we'll be going into the jails to meet with them. And so again, we'll need volunteers on for assistance with that. I'm reaching out right now to individuals to help do the video, and especially a diverse group to do it, as well as male and females. I'm looking for Hispanic, Asian individuals to kind of do a little blurb that we have. And it should be a quick little blurb that they'll be kind of entice them about what we'll be doing.
Then you can go to the jail because the jail is different than prison, right?
Yeah.
In other words, if they were convicted in prison, they couldn't vote.
No, the non-felony we'll be reaching out to.
Yeah.
Non-felons.
Okay.
Good. Any other questions? This ends it right on time. Oh, Sydney, go ahead. You had a question. Unmute yourself, Sydney. unmute.
I just ask Amy a quick question. Are these bags that you're talking about, are they available in the office now?
No, they're packed before the events and then they're given to the leads of the events. They pick them up and take them with them to the voter registration.
So you're going to have those ready for the voter registration days at the libraries?
Yeah, that's right. And
Okay.
we'll be sending information out about when to pick those up. So we'll be packing those on the 8th of September and we'll arrange for pickup after that.
Okay, thanks very much.
Yep.
Good.
Judy, I had an idea while Don was talking to and Amy. I think for the units that are meeting in person, one way to get folks signed up might be if somebody has their computer or their phone, you can just click on the Sign Up Genius and help people sign up who might not be so technically oriented to do it themselves. So that was just a thought that passed.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Bring a laptop or two to the meeting and anybody who wants to sign up can do it right there.
Not to
Love
put
that
anybody on the-
idea.
Yeah,
That's
not
a
to put
great
anybody on the
idea.
spot or anything, but.
That's a great idea. Good. Lois?
Would somebody remind us how we can save the chat?
I don't know.
Just copy and paste it.
There's a better way to do it. I've
Three
heard.
dots, right down at the bottom where if you're going to type a message in, there's a little icon with a smiley and a.
Oh, yeah. 3 dots.
Three
yeah.
dots. Click on the 3 dots and it says Save Chat.
Oh, yay, thank you. I didn't know that.
Oh.
And you get all the golden words.
Of course, the question is where does it save?
Yeah,
to?
where does it come?
Yeah, where does it save it to?
Yeah, well, mine says Show in Finder. So I go.
Oh,
over there
Show in
and then
Finder.
I-
Yeah, that's
and
probably-
then I can save it to wherever I want to save it.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
Good. All right. Thank
Okay,
you.
great.
We all learn. I say about computers and doing Zoom meetings, I'm a one-eyed man in the kingdom of the blind. And, I know some stuff, but there's a whole lot I don't know. And thank you.
Okay. Oh, I just went out and it saved it. Okay. Yeah, it saved it. I found it on my computer. Great.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thank you all. It's been a great meeting, very productive. I thank you for giving 2 hours of your time on Saturday. Those of us who are staying on for the briefing, keep your computer logged in to Zoom. Just put your mute on, go have your lunch or whatever you're going to do. And we will reconvene, I believe, Amy and Julie at 12:30. Is that correct?
At 12:30, that's correct.
12:30 for the briefing.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you,
great.
Judy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so
Thank you,
much.
Judy.
Bye, everybody.
Judy, I'm gonna stop recording for the break and then turn it back on.
All right.
At 12:30, that's great. Thanks, Emma Beth.
Okay, all right. Bye-bye. See you soon.
If you've got other things to do, if you have other things to do, like with your family, feel free.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I've got slides to show for you guys. So
Oh, you have slides too. Okay, so.
I've got direction already.
So Sydney and I talked, and the way we thought that this might run is that Sydney has a PowerPoint presentation that we figure will last about 15 minutes. And if, as Sydney is presenting, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. And Julie and I will be monitoring the chat. And after, yeah, there's Julie. And then after, so Sydney will take about 15 minutes, then we'll have about 15 minutes for questions. And then we'll use the last half hour to go over the discussion questions, okay? So hopefully we'll be done around 1:30-ish. The other thing that I wanted to mention about this subject is that I am finding that people may have very strong feelings about this subject. And we want to hear from everybody. It's okay if not everybody thinks the same way. And we want to be open to listening respectfully to everybody. And so you all, when you open up this discussion, you might want to just remind people and encourage people
it's okay if you don't agree with everybody. We want to hear from you, and also to keep our conversations, to listen respectfully and keep our conversations civil and non-confrontational, and just be open to everyone's ideas. And hopefully we'll all learn a lot. Okay, so that's my little spiel about that. So Sydney, if you want to go ahead and get going.
Thank you. Annabeth, are you, oh, there we go. Perfect. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to just say next slide, please, when the right time comes. If you're, so you're staying on for this meeting. If you didn't, okay, that's perfect. I wanted to say, first of all, I'm sorry. Good afternoon. I thank you very much for agreeing to be discussion leaders or attending out of interest, and for spending this time with us. I have here a brief summary of the report, which I've put into some slides. I'm not planning to read the slides to you. I just have little comments about each one. Before we get to it, however, I'd like to acknowledge that we have several members of the committee are here with us who participated in the design and completion of this project. Melissa Fitzgerald, Amy Leeson, Janice Hill, and Don Craig were all members of the committee. So they have some advanced knowledge to that, and obviously opinions that they can contribute. What we did in the design of the report was kind of divided up so that there's the basic report that's in the voter, and then after that there's a kind of appendix, which is the pros and cons, because it has of course been the League's practice to acknowledge on any issue of this kind that there are pros and cons on either side of the argument. Sometimes that's not so useful because it makes it sound like there's only two sides. And really, as we all know, there's many, many different points of view about a subject like this. But that's how we did it because it is the tradition. And you will find the end notes to the main report and the end notes to pros and cons online because they didn't fit in the voter. That leads me to say, well, we had a huge subject to deal with many facets. So what we did was try and refine the framework to start with. We started with the League positions and what the history of the League has been in dealing in relating to African-American members and African-American groups, you know, because they had their own groups that promoted voting and education. And then we discussed that in part one. Then we looked for some kind of guidelines that we could use to kind of frame the issue. We wanted something comprehensive and something objective, something that wasn't, it was something that had a credibility because it was established by a large organization. And we found that in the United Nations Human Rights Declaration of the Human Rights Framework. It's very complicated. There's a lot to it, and you can find it on the UN site if you want to. But we just used an abridged version of it that we found elsewhere. And we then further narrowed the scope of our study to deal with just events in Virginia and then finally in Fairfax. So it was in that way that we were able to drill down and discover enough material, substantial material, for us to consider this relevant to Fairfax. And in part two, we're going to be looking at the expectations that people have for reparations, what the experience of generations of people have been in the disparities in income and wealth that they have had. Focusing on Northern Virginia, we then look down at the Fairfax County Redevelopment and Housing Authority as an example of how to deal with creating a more just space. That we use the human rights framework, and we will talk about the classification of methods of reparation. We looked at the Fairfax County Strategic Plan, which we're going to refer to in brief as One Fairfax. Within that, there are 10 priority areas of how institutional changes that need to be made to create a more equal society or equitable society. We chose what is really the 8th point, which is housing and neighborhood livability. We compared the human rights framework to One Fairfax, And there's a little map that shows you what Fairfax looks like. So that being said, let's go on to the next slide, if you will, Emmabeth. There are two views on reparations, but they are not mutually exclusive. I've chosen Mr. William Darity here. He's written the most recent book on this subject, From Here to Equality. It's deeply researched. And he advocates direct payments to persons who can demonstrate they have a direct descent from persons who were enslaved. He also advocates for social programs and educational programs to improve the lot of people in neighborhoods. We've given some of the people who disagree with him as well in the text. There's one person, for example, who says, well, you can't really determine who should have the payments and who shouldn't, because there's been too much mix up of populations. How do you account for people who came from the Caribbean and then moved here? They weren't enslaved here, they were enslaved in the Caribbean, but they suffered some of the same consequences. There are tricky things to be considered in determining what reparations might be. So there's kind of 2 points there. We then looked at the United Nations Human Rights Framework. I think I'll come back to this and we'll talk about the elements of it when we compare it to the Fairfax County Strategic Plan. So I'm not repeating myself. Annabeth, can we go on to the next slide, please? We demonstrate that there has been a generation of discrimination in income and loss of wealth. There's a table that shows that. I think it's on page 3 of the printed material. There are studies that show that African Americans don't get employed as readily. And they don't, if they are employed, they're very often underemployed. They may have a bachelor's degree in something, but they're given a kind of assistant position and they don't get promotion. So there's a kind of downgrading of the income that they can get. With regard to wealth, how much land they can own, whether they can accumulate wealth over generations, that's also extremely difficult for many African Americans. And we have examples of that in the table. I think the notion of redlining is familiar to everybody, because when they started doing some zoning, of the cities, they did different colors, that like blue and yellow and red were good zones to move into for investors. That's who the zoning was designed for. If a zone had a red line around it, it meant that, well, maybe people who wanted to invest in insurance and mortgage companies might want to avoid there because those were not as reliable in neighborhoods. And therefore, that by itself downgraded the neighborhood and downgraded the worth of the neighborhood. That was made illegal in 1968, I think it was. So next, the next one, please. Here we are. Oops, what have I done? We were very fortunate to be introduced to a couple of organizations that do a lot of current work on reparations. One of them is called the African American Redress Network, and the other one is called Resolutions Addressing Systemic Racism. We met them on Zoom, and we were introduced to them by Sarah Calhoun, who is actually a member of the Fairfax League. We attended some of their meetings, and one of our team members is actually working with them very closely now. They sort of search the country, and they search this, in the case of Virginia, they search the state to find out what programs are going on now. And they have maps showing you where reparations programs are being worked on, or where they're being, where they've succeeded. They also promote the interest of people who are trying to save their own communities. There's a community in the southern part of Virginia that I think it's Amazon or somebody wants to build a big warehouse kind of right in the middle of the town. That it's a very established old African-American community, and a big warehouse with all the roads leading to and from it would break up the town. So they get involved in advocating for that community. I have to correct a mistake. The correct name for RASR is Resolutions Addressing Systemic Racism. For a long time, in my mind, it was Resolutions Against Systemic Racism. It's correct on the slide. It's not correct in the copy online or the print copy in the voter. So I don't know if that can be changed, but unfortunately. I made that error. I do recommend that you look at the Deeply Rooted website. It's called Deeply Rooted Histories Lessons for Equity in Northern Virginia. It looks at many, many events that happened over time in Northern Virginia, right where we are. That's where you will learn that all the roads around Pentagon were built by taking over 2 communities in that area. And the people who lived there were displaced into trailer homes until finally they were moved into public housing into Virginia, but their whole community was abolished. There's a little community where Dulles Airport is now, and that too was taken away. So you learn a good deal about what has happened in Northern Virginia, so it feels more personal and relevant to you. Next slide, please. And my voice is really. The league has had a long history of, our league has had a long history of supporting the Fairfax County Redevelopment and Housing Authority. We came out in favor of the referendum when it was conducted in 1965, and we have long supported its mission, which is to provide affordable housing. Originally, their mission didn't talk about social equity, but they have added a statement where they have adopted the One Fairfax Racial and Social Equity Resolution. So now they explicitly promote fair housing for minorities. And this is something that there's a lot of activity going on right now. There are a couple of apartment complexes that have affordable housing in them. One of the most recent is Ovation. That's the one we mentioned in our report. But there's another one that's coming out in Tyson's Corner, and that's a new one. And, you know, this is the kind of thing that we might want to look into, what is really happening with the housing of people, because we have the affordable housing reports from last year and the state position on that, and now we have our own history of promoting affordable housing in words. And what we want to know is this being carried out in deeds? Next slide, please. Here's the brief summary of the human rights framework. And this was developed really in the context of compensating people who had been through a war and had lost things. So the idea is that if it's possible, you restore what they lost, you give them back their property or their paintings or whatever was taken away from them. That's not really been possible in our history. If you can't restore, you compensate, provide monetary award or something like that for damages. You do your best to provide rehabilitation services for people that have been lacking. So you upgrade the psychological care, you upgrade the social services, you upgrade the education systems in low-income neighborhoods. You do whatever you can to rehabilitate the services that are there, to improve them. You can try satisfying people. These are usually moves that are meant to acknowledge social and emotional discrimination that has happened in the past. For example, you may issue an apology for how your institution behaved in the past. You stopped doing whatever you were doing. You recall we've in Virginia last couple of years have had a lot of controversy about removal of statues or renaming streets. It's not easy. It isn't monetary, but it isn't easy. But it still is something that can be done to restore, to acknowledge past injustice. And lastly, you can guarantee non-repetition. This is done by reforming your institutions, making sure that judicial reforms accept and understand and acknowledge the different backgrounds from which people come and compensate for that. As we found, the advantage of using this framework is it's international, it's objective, and it gave us a way of kind of pulling back from the emotionalism that gets involved in this subject. And the advantage of the framework is it provides additional means of reparation that are not just to do with monetary services, and it has no time limits. If you go to law, there are time limits on suits. And this is what Dr. Linda Mann, who was the head of the African American Redress Network, says. Next slide, please. I'm trying to make sure we get this done in time to allow for discussion. I'm sorry if it's going too fast, but these slides are being given to you. You can keep them, show them to your own groups, or do whatever you want with them, but they're meant to be a little cliff guide, if you want to call it that, cliff notes to the report. So we'll look at the Fairfax strategic plan, which we're going to call One Fairfax because that's kind of how it's been referred to. It actually started in 2015, was finally adopted by the Board of Supervisors in 2021. I recommend that you just Google One Fairfax and you'll find it, or Google Fairfax County Strategic Plan. You'll find the whole thing. You can look through it and see how comprehensive and how it is and how much it addresses all of these issues. They do not say in every single section, oh, we're doing racial and social equality here. But at the very beginning, in their introduction, they have a little graphic that shows that for each one of these areas that they're going to address, they use a racial and social equality lens to look at it. And this is a term that's becoming very familiar as far as, you know, how you actually frame the subject that you're looking at. This plan featured 10 community outcome areas, as they call it. They look at outcomes in cultural, recreational opportunities, environment, mobility, all of that. And we chose housing and neighborhood livability to focus on, because once again, we had to trim ourselves down to suit the size of this report. And this section has numerical data that can be collected that are a bit more objective than some of the other areas, like lifelong education and learning. How do you measure that? You know, it's harder to measure, harder to figure out what the impact is. So with housing and neighborhood livability, we found there were ways of measuring it. For example, one of the things they look at in redesigning a neighborhood is how many people who earn 36% of the area median income can actually afford to live in the housing once you've built it. How many people who live in the neighborhood feel like their ideas have been taken into account. They do have community meetings and they do have community surveys to try and find out how people in neighborhoods feel. They haven't probably had enough of those, as we found in the report. They realized that this is kind of very bureaucratic structure and they haven't consulted with the neighbors as much as they need to, and that's supposed to be going on now. This is an area that I wish we could have expanded. In this area, there are actually 9 goals. The success of achieving them is measured by 24 different metrics, and they have strategies, such as encouraging mixed income housing, diverse types of housing in the same neighborhood, so that you don't just have all apartment blocks or all single family homes. You try and have a mixture of those. And these are called revitalization areas. In the older neighborhoods, they take over and try to reclaim or repair. It's not clear to me that all of this is going to work. Because as we know, the original residents in a neighborhood, if once a neighborhood is kind of broken up, the original residents kind of disappear and other people move in, and it's not necessarily going to benefit the people who've lived there for years and years. You want to have the next slide, please. We made a little one-to-one comparison between the Human Rights Framework and One Fairfax. Restitution, direct return of property. This is not addressed in One Fairfax. They don't take that into account. However, individually, there are people who have established claims in Fairfax County whose claims are being pursued. And one of those is the Carter family. The Carter family is a very old family. They had Carter family cemeteries in Oakton and one in Tysons. And they've interested the supervisors, Dahlia Palchik and Walter Alcorn, who are kind of pursuing their case for them. In the Oakton case, there's been a huge development has been where their cemetery was. So now all they can get is some kind of acknowledgement that they had a cemetery there. But in Tysons, there's actually still some open land with a gravestone, a marker of one of their ancestors is there. And so they're thinking, well, maybe we can get this land restored and acknowledge that it belonged to this family. So compensation, they're not going to get their land back, but they are seeking compensation for an ancestor's confiscated land. They're looking to get the federal government to compensate them because the Fairfax County doesn't owe it to them, but after the war, their land was confiscated. by the government, the federal government. And they were not paid as much as their neighbors who were white. They got paid for their land. So the Carters are claiming that they need to have some compensation there. Rehabilitation. There's a strong effort to provide neighborhood-based services so that a person doesn't have to get on a bus and go across the county or down to the government center to get a service, that there will be local neighborhood services available to the people in the neighborhood. That's one of the plans. Satisfaction. Renaming streets and schools. We know, there's Justice School and a couple of the other schools, they've renamed some streets. That is going on as we speak in Fairfax. And then guarantees of non-repetition. There's protection of existing neighborhoods, and so they're not supposed to knock them down. There's explicit non-discrimination in housing and that's in just the housing area that we were dealing with.
Sydney, I just want to give you a little time check. It's 12:53.
Okay, I have one more slide. Well, two more quickly. Next one. You can see this is a map that you can look at that shows you where the healthy places are and where the unhealthy places are to live in Fairfax. In McLean, you have a life expectancy in some parts of McLean of 98 years. Life expectancy along the Route 1 corridor is 41 years. That tells you right there. Next question. Next slide, please, Annabette. Here's another mistake I have to correct. It should be HR 40, not HB. There are some current efforts to make reparations happen now, both in Virginia and nationally. Since we are running out of time, I won't run through these. They are in the report. But it gives you a feeling that reparations are not something that's going to happen in the future, that efforts are being made now to bring about a more just society. And the last slide, please. That's it. These were the discussion questions that we put in the
voter. Yeah, I don't see any questions in the chat, but maybe we have a few minutes before we get into the discussion questions. If anybody has any questions about your presentation. Well, here's one here. Betty Gordon would say, send a copy of the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
I have the list of folks, and I have the PowerPoint presentation, so
if you will send
I can send it on to folks. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that would be great. And I did make this with the view that people could have that to rely on.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry we went through it very quickly, but we were, trying to meet a time limit. I hope I didn't gabble too much.
Also, I see John Craig. He's asking if you can attend the Ruston Evening Unit September meeting. I think you're going to be, it's September 8th at 7:30, but you might be out of country, right, Sydney?
No,
I'm going to be I'm going to be traveling in all of September.
Okay, let me clarify. That was someone sent me a question about the unit meeting, asking me to attend.
Oh, right.
Put it to all for the last meeting.
Well, I've provided, I hope that those of you who are on the committee feel that I did an adequate job of summarizing the report. And I hope Janice, Amy, and Don and Melissa, you'll chime in with the conversation that about the discussion questions. Here again, let's stress that it's not an exam. When you lead a discussion on these, some of these questions are going to have more impact on your members than others. So if you find that you look at question 1 and people kind of shrug and say, well, that's kind of an exam question, you go on to the next one. I mean, and you end up with finding some part of the conversation that is coherent for your group and that you also want to focus on. For example, you might want to look at, so what are the Fairfax County boards, authorities, and commissions that monitor the functions and so forth? When Rona Ackerman was the executive director, she used to put out a list of these. There's a whole brochure of all these county boards that we used to be able to go and sit in on and monitor and see what they were doing. And somebody might be interested in following up with zoning, So if that sort of strikes a chord with your members, then you can just spend the whole time talking about that. And just take a minute just for you to look through discussion questions and see if there's something that strikes any of you.
So I just have a general question for you, Sydney. Are any of these discussion questions, do you feel are more important for you to know what the feelings of our members are for future study, maybe?
Personally,
if you could answer that.
That's why, because I'm particularly focused on housing, because it's something that relates to other positions that we've recently discussed, and it's something that we could follow up if some of us wanted from a committee that explored further whether we're really doing affordable housing in Fairfax. I think there may be questions about that. That's a personal interest to me, but I mean, it would be interesting to me if there was any of this that people wanted to follow up on, you know, or take in another direction or
So
advance.
when they send in their reports, you'd like to know kind of what the members are thinking might be.
Yeah, and they might think, no, this was enough, thank you. We're going to go on to something else. I mean, you always have to be open to no thanks.
Right. Okay. Betty Gordon, were you going to say something before?
I do have a question, and I've been I thought I had marked it on my printed copy. Is there anything that the league is currently involved in now? Now, I understand that that members of the committee who wrote this report met with the different networks. Was that kind of the first, that's like an overture that the league has made, or has the league been active in any of this already?
Not as the league. We have individual members, particularly Pam Berg, who is on your list as one of the contributors. She has gone on out of her own interest to work more extensively with these groups. We didn't feel it was appropriate, since we didn't actually have what you might call a sanction from the board. You know, we're not supposed to represent the league.
Understood. That's what I meant was, is this something that the league itself? So is Pam?
Can I just interrupt there and say that Anu Sahai, this is pre-pandemic. Anu Sahai was attending all the Fairfax 1 meetings. Yes. And we had our general meeting back 2 or 3 years ago was all on Fairfax 1, which covers the whole house, which they have
That's actually mentioned, it's mentioned in the slides and in the report.
Right.
That in 2020. So the one Fairfax part of this is not a stranger to the league, and that is something the league was part of as the league, I believe. I mean,
Yes.
Okay.
But we did not have that kind of relationship with either AARN or RSAR, because that's not something we had clearance to do. I mean, they knew that we were in the league, and the woman who introduced us, Sarah Calhoun, is in her own role. She helps to coordinate their network. You know, she does the sort of technical side of running their Zoom meetings. So as individual members, there are people in the league who are interested, but we don't do it as the league.
Well, we did have a study, back some years ago. I only know because I'm the one that wrote it, on homelessness in Fairfax County. Yeah.
I think it's as an issue of housing, then that's an ongoing issue that we have. And that's one of the reasons we chose it this time, because we had the affordable healthcare position last year, you know, that was at the state level. So there's always an undercurrent of interest among us for that topic.
Yes, I mean, the league has the positions on affordable housing and equitable housing, but I don't think any level of the league has a position on reparations.
Not reparations as such. We do have now, the only reason I could write this report is that National League has, as I actually outlined in part 1 of this report, the National League has lately developed in the last 2 years a position on diversity, equity, and inclusion that explicitly states the recognition of Native Americans and African Americans and so forth. before that, there was a lot of general, support for minority interests, but we never really acknowledged that how can I say, the origins and identities of people is important to this. It's important to acknowledge that people have a background that they come from. And we now do. So, and we also at the state level have a position on diversity, equity, and otherwise we couldn't have actually proceeded, I don't think.
Well, we can do informational meetings on anything that we have a group that wants to.
Well, this is one. This is only informational, but I felt pleased that we had something in the background already that could be relied upon as a framework for the league, within the league, at all the levels.
Okay. I think that the last three questions are pretty much thought questions and good discussion questions for our member, because it's about what they think about what they believe. The first four questions are a little bit more fact-based. I think the article covers the factors in African-American loss of economic power. I've been involved with a group called the Network, which is a very strong group of Catholic nuns who have offices in DC and are very strong advocates, legislative advocates. In fact, Simone Campbell, their former executive director, was given the President's Medal of Freedom honor. She was one of the recipients this year. But they have a great presentation on the wealth income gap, which shows the policies that our country has signed off on since like 1867, which really shows you exactly what we have done to cause there to be a income and wealth gap, and how it's affected mostly people of color. And Sydney and her team have covered some of it, like for example, the GI Bill was one of them after World War II. Yeah.
That's it. I'd like to give a chance for the people who were actually on the committee. Amy, Melissa, I'm not trying to, pin you down, but Amy, Melissa, Dawn, and James, if you have a particular comment you'd like to make about the report or your participation in it, I would love to hear from you, and I think the group would.
I would just offer that, I enjoyed working on this report. I learned a lot. I really love part two more even than part one, because I really think that it brings the idea home, and it talks about places that we know that we drive past maybe on a daily basis, the Pentagon and Dulles Airport, and being able to really visually see the impact of communities that they're not there right any longer. And I also love the comparison of I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly the name of the chart, but the chart that compares the and contrasts the white black household legacies. I just think that really clarifies and drives home the point of what we're talking about, and the real effort to exclude the Black community from obtaining wealth to pass from generation to generation.
Yeah,
Pat McGrady has put something in. Pat has been a long time advocate for housing, mostly in Arlington County. But Pat, did you want to share what you had in the chat? Pat, maybe she stepped away.
She's here. She's muted.
Yeah,
I'm
Pat,
trying to unmute.
Yeah.
I just had to move my laptop because it was running out of batteries. So yes, I am. I was a 42-year member of the Arlington League and a housing advocate. and was on the boards of two of the nonprofits in Arlington and on the housing commission for 10 years. So yes, and I'm so happy that you guys are taking up this cause.
Thanks. Do you have any,
Maggie had a question. She said, can someone discuss the map in the study?
Sure. Let's go back to the
I
map.
guess Emma Beck can put that map back up.
Yeah, it's up. It's the second slide to the last, I think. Yeah, there you go. This is you find this is the source for this. So if you Google Healthy Places Index maps, or you look at this very long link here, it shows you that website shows you the different counties in Northern Virginia and how the wealth is distributed in the county, so that and there's lots of different pieces of information that can be determined from this map. I had to select one, which was life expectancy, because what they do is they look at income, they look at health provisions, they look at schools, they look at all these different factors, and then they kind of blend them all together and add it all up and decide and create an index out of it. Well, when you add up this, and this, you get a sort of 40% of the ideal provision in a neighborhood. If you add up this, and this, you get another percentage of provision in the neighborhood. And this is their index. So what we have here is some scores of how the different neighborhoods match up. The lighter the neighborhood, the sort of yellow and light green ones are the prosperous neighborhoods, and the dark neighborhoods are the dark blue and black ones. There's a little bit more about it in the report itself. Just give me a minute, I'll find the page here. Because we do actually have a picture of the map in the report.
Sydney, when you were discussing this, you gave us some rather startling, a rather startling metric that in McLean, the average life expectancy is in the 90s,
yeah, it's not
and
average.
that somewhere on the Route 1 corridor, it's 41.
Yeah, and
I would like to know, I'm in the McLean unit.
Mhm.
I'd like to know what units we can be working with, because if I'm in a healthy area, what can we do? What can our different units, how can our units work together? Because clearly Fairfax is not homogeneous.
No, it's not, although it is thought to be. And
Exactly.
I have to clarify something here. When I said it was sort of up to, there's really, that's the upper limit of the index score of McLean. The upper limit is 90, whatever we said.
98. Yeah.
The lower limit is 41. There's actually ranges of 10 degrees in that. This is, well, I think one thing would be if you went to the Healthy Places Index website, you could see the comparison of the different maps, and they explain much more about the contents and how they arrive at this index than I had room for here. So I would say that the first thing to do, two things: find the Healthy Places Index maps and find out what the index really tells you. It doesn't, because I've only given you, I've just told you, well, there's an index here. It doesn't give you enough information to be working on. Second thing I would do is go to the website that says Deeply Rooted History of Equity in Northern Virginia. And there you find a series of web pages that give you a lot of details about what has happened in Northern Virginia. So you can accumulate information about the history just of this area. And all this information was put together by, it's going out of my head now because there's so much in my head. The Center for, it's in the, I'm sorry, I should have.
Do we have much membership in those areas where
Yes.
the life expectancy is lower.
Yeah, I think actually I have been, the life expectancy part of it is only part of the index, and I mischaracterized it.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But I'm
Yes,
just
I do.
using that as the metric that was discussed.
The
Is there
two-
some,
yes,
yeah, okay.
Mount Vernon. The two
Yeah,
Mount Vernon-
Mount
and also
Vernon.
the Centerville area has pockets. In fact, throughout the entire county, there are pockets. And Betty, that the question is a really good one. And this is the way we start often is by somebody who, like Sydney and her team, who spent the time doing this research and writing this in order to educate our members throughout Fairfax County area. And then the next step is when you're having these discussions, the recorder of the discussions will kind of record the things that are most important in your area discussing, and what you're saying might be written down. And Julie and I then look at all the responses, compile them so we see what people are interested in throughout. And then perhaps we share with legislation advocacy and get some moves on. But the first step is always, you're not going to take action or do anything until people are educated and aware of the issues. And I think this is a really, really good start for that. And Pat McGrady has a question in this chat too, which.
Could I just say one more thing about this other question first? This study was originally done by the Center on Society and Health for Northern Virginia and promoted by the Northern Virginia Health Foundation at Virginia Commonwealth University. So you know there's a source for it. If you can go to our website and go to publications and so see the online version, you can see all of the footnotes, of which there were not room for in the print copy. But if you look at the footnotes, you can get where the sources were for all this information. And that's another good place to start if you want to do that. Okay, now you said.
Pat's question is, has the league done membership outreach to the Black community?
Not as such. I mean, Pat, you and I had a little interchange of I think it's more that the league has relaxed some of its practices. There used to be unspoken and unwritten sort of barriers. There was never explicit barriers. But now I don't think we have those anymore. We did have some members in the league previously who were African American. We certainly have some now. We have a couple sitting right here.
What are you talking about barriers, Sydney? What's
I'm
barriers?
talking about how you make people feel unwelcome. Well, you don't even have to say that they're not welcome. They come and they sit in the back of the room and nobody goes over to them and says, hey, hi, how are you? What's your name?
We did that?
Come again. Yes.
Gee,
Can we hear from?
Don's got something to say.
Yeah, I just think just to kind of add, and I've seen it, since I've been involved with the league, where yes, African Americans, other minorities will come to the league and for interest, and then again that outreach isn't there, and it's not continuously there. And then also when they've come to the league, like giving suggestions or as far as okay, what could be done differently, they're ignored. I've heard that, and so why would you come to somewhere where you feel that you're not being respected or even recognized or understood?
Yeah.
So I think the big thing is that the league, some members of the league need to take that, I would say, like white superiority out of it, because I've seen it where like some of the outreach we've done, where when they're talking to other white individuals, you can tell the difference. When they're talking to African Americans, it's more of a, I won't say demeaning interaction, but less respectful, or it's like they put themselves up higher.
And
I would say that I have also seen that at some of our voter registration events with my colleagues, and also some of the things people will say when folks walk away. So I do think that that's true, and I've seen it happen.
I think all groups need to sort of watch the tendency to be a little bit cliquey and talk to their friends more than comers. And that can sometimes be misconstrued, I think. But we need to watch that. Reach out to anybody who's new in the group and make them do a better job of making them feel welcome.
But also, I also add that when the league is reaching out to other groups to for involvement, it does take time to build that relationship. But then also it takes, you know, being understanding, listening, and then seeing what they're involved in. What like several other groups, what are you involved in? How can we merge into what they're doing instead of us or the league taking an attitude? Well, you need to merge into what we're doing and then just come on board with us, with the league. Instead of saying, well, let's see how we can work together to move forward so that we both have a vested interest.
And I think we're going to be partnering with some other organizations for the candidate forums. And you know, this was years ago. Sydney and I both attended when Northam was running for governor. Sydney and I both attended the NAACP candidate forum. And we were probably the only white people there, Sydney and her husband and me. But I went not so much to hear the candidates speak. I wanted to know what are the questions that the NAACP members were interested in. And you know, two issues came forward over and over again: criminal justice reform and college tuition.
Right.
And that's the way, if we can learn more about what affects one another, then maybe we can join forces and work with them on particular issues that are important to them. Yeah.
But just like saying, like candidate forums, one of the things that I've been trying to run in my outreach, the vast comments I received was that, you know, we would, you know, like to, you know, be a co-sponsor, be involved, but when we do get involved, none of our questions are ever asked. We're not asked to participate as far as assisting with the forums. We're just there. So again, it's like, you know, you're using me to better your organization.
Thank you for sharing. Those are painful things to hear, but I think we have to hear them. Yeah.
I was very grateful that in our initial group of 12, we had 6 people who were of European descent, and then 6 people who were of African American descent joined us. So it was actually a half and half group. Not everybody attended all the time. We ended up kind of being sort of squeezed down into a group of about 5 or 6 people, but there was both sides represented there too. Janice Hill, I would point out, she wrote the section on pros and cons. That's who she was the main for constructing that. So we do have, well, I would hope you would think it was balanced representation on the committee. And that was really very important to us.
Did you have some lively discussions while you were working on this?
I suppose it depends.
I'm interested in how did that work?
I would say, I don't know about you, Don and Janice, but the very first meeting we had was the one where we set up the whole framework for this study. And we had, I have to say this, one member who, I don't know if we were relevant to her after a while, but she came, what was one of the early people. And one of the questions I asked her, I don't know, hope it's okay if I bring this up. I said, what do you all want? What do we want to be called? Because I think nomenclature is important. And there was a whole discussion of whether people want to be called black or white or pink or whatever. You know, I wanted to use a terminology that was acceptable to the whole group. And it ended up being what we call a consensus in the league. It's kind of what they call in the Quakers a sense of the meeting. It seemed like African American was the most comfortable term by which the African American members of the committee wanted to be known. So we settled on that. And I said, well, so what about the rest of us? What do you call them? And she said, oh, well, I always think of you as pink. And I thought, well, you know, all right. So there was, that was a certain bit of levity. I don't think we had disagreements. I don't know if maybe there were disagreements that just weren't said because we were all trying to be very accommodating. But that meeting, how I characterize it is, that was where we came up with the idea that we had to have a comprehensive view that took in everything, including the generational part. This lady contributed the idea of generational disparities. And that it had to be something that everybody could sort of read and not get angry at immediately.
Right.
That was another member of our committee, his name is Kevin Pullen.
Right.
Some of you know him. He's a member of one of the fraternities, of which the colleges have many fraternities and sororities. Janice is a member of another one. I see your hand, Janice. I'll just say this one sentence. And he was the one who said, you can't antagonize people, because he was sensitive to that. And maybe you should antagonize people. I don't know. We tried not to. Janice.
Thank you. Actually, I was just going to talk about the committee. I think the committee worked very well. As you said, it was a real comprehensive topic. So there was a lot to discuss, and there were a lot of varying views, I thought. But I think the one good thing, the committee was very respectful. Everybody was respectful of each other. And I think that's part of why it worked. And also because of Sydney's leadership in helping everybody to pull everyone together. So I think that was part of the reason that this committee worked well. In terms of the league and reaching out, like someone said, I think when you're in a group and people come, whether you're black or white or pink, if someone comes, you talk to the people you know.
Right.
And you don't talk to the people you don't know. And generally the people you know are people who are like you. So I think there has to be an effort if you want to get other people in and whatever, you have to make an effort to say, okay, what do I need to do? Because so it's not, I'll say black and white. It's a whole lot of gray as to what you can do and how you can get into it, etc. So I thought that was very funny. And I don't know, Don, you mentioned the candidates forum. I did candidates forums with Sydney for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to call any names, but we had one and there was some whatever, I'll say hiccups. And the person was really upset. And he came and he was like, oh, these old white women, and they're doing this and they're doing that and whatever. So when we got to the forum, he came up and I says, hi, I'm Janice Hill. We talked earlier. And that was probably about 10, 15. So I was a lot younger then. I was like, I'm not an old white woman. So I think it's people, but I do agree that there has to be an effort made. And if you want people to join and you want it to be inclusive, you have to take an extra step to get people to come on board. And you might see people may have more likeness to you than they have dislikes, because diversity is not necessarily black and white. It's other things that you like or you don't like, or you know, you go to the movies or whatever. There are a whole lot of other things other than black and white that I think people should kind of focus on. And that would be people that you know, people who are like you, etc. So if you make the effort, I think we can all kind of see other people in different lights.
Right.
Totally agree.
I just like to comment that this is what just happened. This whole sequence. What happened? The whole sequence of conversation that we just had is an example of what happens when you use the discussion questions as a springboard and not as a set of exam questions.
Yeah.
You know, what happened was we focused on some of the thought questions at the end, that Judy introduced us to think about it that way. We didn't say, okay, let's look at 6, 7, and 8. And this all kind of arose out of that. And that's really how the discussion can evolve. And so that's one of the reasons for joining in a briefing like this is to get that kind of feeling. Is there any
Is there
discomfort with that?
Yes, and I think Janice said it, or Amy said it, somebody said it, but Sydney, I think kudos to you too, because you do really tend towards respect of everybody, and I think that's very important. And it's also, you know, it's Janice said something about it's about people. And I mean, I know when I go to a meeting, if I don't know anybody, it's that person who gives me the eye contact.
Yeah.
I leech on to them and they become my very best friends. Because it's not comfortable to come to a place where you don't know anybody and expect to be participating. So if in our units, we can assign one person to be that people person, you know, to really welcome people, you'd be surprised at how that really helps, I think. Yes. The welcoming person, the welcome wagon person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've got a couple of minutes left. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Melissa, you expressed some concerns at the beginning of whether you had to make a presentation and how to handle the questions. Do you feel more comfortable with it now?
You're muted, Melissa. You're muted. Melissa, unmute yourself.
No, there's no problem at all. I just didn't understand, that's all.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure that that was okay with you then. Thank you.
Well, thanks for the meeting. It was very good briefing. Thanks.
There was a reference in the report to a 274 unit affordable housing complex called Ovation. And Sydney, I think you said that's in Tysons.
No, that's not in Tysons. That's somewhere else.
Is
And I
that
think,
Herndon?
might be. I'm not. I'd have to look it up. We sent this report in last
That
March.
kind of information
Yeah, but there's one going up in
would have been
Tysons that-
useful in the
Yeah.
report, just to say in Herndon or in Tysons.
Yes, and I can find out and let you know.
I'll Google it. I'll go to the
The one in
commission.
Tysons was just announced in. I don't know if you get the.
I do. I know. I
Jeff
think it's
McKay.
going in the same building where the new community center will be.
Jeff McKay sends out these letters, you know. to
Yeah.
everybody. And that's where I saw the announcement about the new one in Tysons.
And
So
there's going to be a new one too. Now it's years out because they're just starting the planning. The Lamb Center, which is a homeless daytime center, is partnering with, I believe it's a Methodist development company to build low-income housing, which will be single residential units for people. And that's just getting off the ground. So it's years out there. And I will just say, as far as the housing goes, COVID isn't over. The people who got hurt in COVID economically, it's still very, very difficult for people and very, very challenging. And it's the people of color who've been most impacted. Yes.
I just wanted to add to that there are actually two new buildings affordable, planned for Tyson's Corner. About 2 or 3 months ago, my old organization, Arlington Partnership for Affordable Housing, got Amazon money and Fairfax County money. So they are also doing an affordable building in Tyson's.
Okay.
Good. Okay.
But then the question remains, how well is that really coming out in practice? And another question that we didn't have a chance to go into here is the RSASR people would always want you to do a racial equity assessment, find out whether the planners of buildings or have it taken into account the history of the land they're building on. For example, were there Native Americans there before that you need to acknowledge? Was there a community there that you've forgotten all about? Was who belonged to this land before you bought it? And is the planning, is the location, say for example, near somewhere that people can easily move to who come from maybe an older established but impoverished neighborhood, would they find it appealing to move into this new housing that you're building? There's all kinds of things that still need to be considered. Once you said this is what you want to do, you want to ask yourself, are you doing it? And these are things that we can follow up.
Okay. Anybody else? Any last minute? Okay. I really appreciate everybody giving up some more time on their Saturday, the last Saturday of summer, so to speak. Julie, did you have anything that you wanted to bring up?
I've been fairly silent, I guess. I wanted to reiterate that Judy is going to pass on this slideshow to all the discussion leaders. And I wanted to bring up just a teeny bit of history that of these briefings. We used to have all these committees that would go to the briefing, and then they would be called resource people, and they would go to the units. And we don't have those kind of people anymore. So this type of briefing where we can put out things online is helpful. And I hope you have a good discussion.
Right. And that I'll just mention now, because we've got some unit chairs on here too, that the October child care consensus study is going to be very, very different. And we won't be having an October briefing because the state actually is putting on 2 sessions. So our discussion leaders and our members could choose one or the other of them. And we'll be getting those links to you shortly. And in the unit newsletter will be the dates of those things, and we'll get the links to folks. So we're doing things a little bit differently, but it's fun every once in a while to shake things up. Yeah. People pay attention more then. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for all the work that you and your team put into this, Sydney. And also thank you all for coming, and also for a very kind of like open, respectful kind of dialogue, which is very good. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you for Emma Beth back there being our technical support.
Thank you, Emma Beth. Thank you very much.
Good luck to your family.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate
Call
it.
us if you have any questions.
I'll find out about Ovation and I'll send that information to Judy. Okay.